Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. As always, you can visit our website, holybatcast.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things Holy BatCast. You can also find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, and you will find us. And if you love the show, you want to help support it, you can also do that through Patreon. You go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, we thank all of those who have. And so I got to give a quick shout out to some patrons. We have a new patron. His name is Manny Cortez. Manny, thank you so much. Good to meet you. I feel like I haven't heard your name before, but now I have, and I certainly appreciate it. Hi, Manny. We also had Weston Craig up his contribution, which is wonderful and very sweet and unnecessary, but certainly appreciated. So, Weston, thank you for that. And then someone else did the same thing. I don't know what's going on. Maybe people know my birthday's coming. Eric Salmon, upped his pledge as well. So, thank you guys. Thank you to all our patrons. We really appreciate the support that you give us, and it's just an extra little bonus for doing the show, and so it is appreciated. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you are looking for other shows to enjoy, you can check those out at rf4rm.com. As always, I'm your host, Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode, we are going to finally be reviewing the animated version of Superman Red Son. It's been out for a few months now, but we've all finally gotten around to watching it, and then figure give you guys time to watch it too. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to review the next episode of Batman Beyond. Joining me for all that and more, first of all, it is, you love him, he's staying up a little late for us, and we appreciate it. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
Yep, it's past my bedtime, and I need my beauty sleep, so you people are costing me here.
You know, sacrifices must be made, but it is appreciated.
Right on.
Good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Also joining us down in Australia, it's Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
Howdy, gents. How are we?
Good.
See how much more chipper he sounds? That's what happens when you record in the late morning instead of the middle of the night.
I know.
Isn't it like 9 p.m., just after 9 p.m.?
That's the middle of the night for old-ass people like me, you know.
Okay.
Well, because, you know, Jamie wakes up at like 4 a.m. and goes to bed at like 9 p.m.
That's not true. I usually get up around 5:15, somewhere in there.
He's still. But anyway, yes. And then also joining us over there in the UK. That's 2 UK guests in 2 weeks. He is one of our patrons. And so, yeah, as a thank you, we wanted to invite him on the show. And y'all don't know how long Chris and I have been trying to make this happen. A long time. But it's Chris Knowles. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Welcome to Holy BatCast.
Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure. And it's your first time. So, you know what that means. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about why you love Batman and what's your favorite Batman movie.
I'm 34. I'm from the northwest of England, sort of near Manchester, Liverpool, but not quite as far as Scotland. I got into Batman when a big summer blockbuster was about to come out, and it was 2005, and it was Batman Begins.
Ah, nice.
And for that reason, it's probably still my favorite Batman film.
Wow.
Although The Dark Knight runs it pretty, The Dark Knight's sort of on a par.
He can stay.
We'll allow it.
You say that now, but I should say, I didn't see Batman 89 until January 2006.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So it was like Batman Begins got you into it, and then you're like, I guess I should go back and watch the other ones.
Batman really began for me, yes.
Oh,
It lived
okay.
up to its title.
I see what he did there.
Well, at least you saw it. At least you remedied that, but...
Oh,
wow.
I've seen it several times since.
Well, 2006. That's crazy.
I'm just curious to ask, what was your reaction to seeing that much later, not to mention the fact after the Nolan movie started?
I probably don't have the same love for it as everybody else, every other Batman fan, but I do like it. But yeah, it's not got the nostalgia that it's got for other people.
Not what I expected, honestly.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
those of
that
us
makes
that
sense.
kind of grew up with it, it was a bit of a different experience. But just curious to get that different perspective because I didn't know anybody offhand that had seen it that late in life.
Yeah, I saw Batman Forever in the 90s, but yeah, I'd maybe seen a bit of Batman Returns, but yeah, 2006 I saw that all 4 of them in a row. Just to
Well, that was it was
feel
around
like,
that it was around that time that like the box set of those 4 movies came out. And
that would have
so,
been it, yeah. I would have got that for Christmas probably.
That makes sense.
I imagine, yeah.
That box set's still one of the best things ever. It was glorious. I was waiting so long for like real special editions of those movies, and so when that box set came out, oh man, it was the best.
I used to watch those docos more than I watched the movies.
I still do. Like they're so
really
good. Yeah. Like every time I watch one of them, I want to watch the documentaries.
Yeah, they split across all 4 discs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4-parter.
Yeah.
I do recall it. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it's like the Batman 89 has like 3 parts because there was so much leading up to that movie getting made. And then I want to say like then there's 1 part for each subsequent film for Returns, Forever, and then Batman and Robin.
From memory,
That sounds
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like overseas, but they all came out on the same day here in Australia too. So like they didn't come as a box set, but they came individually with like slipcases and stuff, and they dropped the same day that Batman Begins was released. So it was all in the one day. So it was overload. It was so good.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Chris. Glad to have you. Welcome aboard. And for your entry into Holy BatCast, we're gonna talk about a Superman movie. That's 2 Superman movies in 2 weeks. 2 Brits in 2 weeks. What the heck? I don't even know what's going on. The world has turned upside down. But the good thing is that this Superman movie, unlike last time, has a pretty strong Batman element to it, which is nice. So this counts a little bit more than the last one. So let's do that. Let's jump into it, and we'll take a look at the newish, kind of like when we did Wonder Woman Bloodlines, the newish DC animated film, Superman Red Son. When did this thing come out? February?
Yes.
March, I've got it down as.
All right, February or March. So maybe it was digital in February
It was
and then
digital Feb, yeah.
Yeah, physical in March.
Yeah.
Because I got the physical just before we went into ISO.
Ah, okay, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it was, I guess, released digitally February 25th, and then in March on actual disc. Of course, based on the famous Elseworlds graphic novel Red Son. This one has the voice talents of Jason Isaacs as Superman, Amy Acker as Lois Lane, Dietrich Bader as Lex Luthor. A little bit of a switch for him. Vanessa Marshall as Wonder Woman, Phil Morris, another DC mainstay, as James Olsen, Paul Williams as Brainiac. Y'all, do you guys know Paul Williams?
Yes.
I love Paul Williams. And of course he has some DC pedigree as well. He was the original Penguin on Batman the Animated Series.
Hey Andy,
Yes?
it nearly wasn't Christmas. Oh no, the night they saved Christmas.
It's the night they
Sorry.
saved Christmas, yeah. But like legendary songwriter Paul Williams, he wrote a lot of the Muppet songs and many of his own, and he was the Penguin. I love that he is Brainiac here. Who else? Phil LaMarr is John Stewart. Tara Strong is young Superman. So yeah, nice little voice cast here. This one is directed, I think, by Sam Liu, who has been directing so many of these. And then the writer of the movie was J.M. DeMatteis, based on the graphic novel. So we will start spoiler-free, as we usually do, and then we will get into spoilers. So, spoiler-free, what's your thought of Superman Red Son, Jamie?
I really got switched on to the story of this by my advisor at my local comic book shop. I was in there one day saying, what should I be reading right now? He's like, check this out. This is a what-if tale if Superman had crash landed in the Soviet Union instead of in Kansas. I'm like, oh, that's intriguing. He's like, yeah, you'll dig it. And I read it, and I loved it, and I was very excited when they announced that this movie was coming out. But, of course, I braced myself because they usually change so much stuff with the animated films. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's a little aggravating. Sometimes it's just plain blah. In this case, they did make some alterations to it, but those alterations aside, I think they stuck it pretty well, and I think they did as justifiable a job as they could without really making a panel-for-panel adaptation. So I really enjoyed this one quite a bit.
All right, nice. What about you, Brendan?
I have to be honest, I've never read the graphic novel, and I genuinely don't know why. I've read stuff like, Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, and like some of the Elseworld stuff, but for some reason I've just never read it. But it's kind of always been one that I've wanted to check out, but just never got to it for some reason. But I genuinely, I guess spoilers, I love this movie. I think it's really, really good. So, if Jamie's read the graphic novel, I don't know how much it's, like, if they do change a hell of a lot or not. But I reckon this story's great. I really, really dig it.
To get right into the thick of it, the biggest differences between this and the graphic novel are the relationship dynamic between Superman and Wonder Woman. And there is one other character that's like the head of state security that's an illegitimate son of Stalin that Superman has a lot of back and forth issues with. And he's actually the one that killed Batman's parents. And, there's a considerable amount of alterations made just by removing that character from the story. But all things considered, without putting his character in the story, I think they filled in those gaps pretty nicely with what they did.
So like a lot of them, they kind of streamlined it a little bit, but without actually changing too much.
More or less. And, they get more detailed into Lex and Lex and Lois's relationship is a lot more contentious in the book than it is in the movie.
Okay.
So anyway, they changed some things, but the gist of it's all there.
All right. Chris, what about you? What did you think?
I really enjoyed this. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I haven't read the book, and I haven't seen any spoilers or even the trailer. So I went into this really fresh with no expectations. Yeah, it's really good. I liked it a lot.
Nice. So I did read the book, but it's been a few years, so I remember very little about it. When I watched this, I felt like they changed a lot, but maybe it's just because I don't remember the book. But like there were just story points and details as I watched the movie that I went, I don't think that's in the book. But again, it could just be because my memory is fuzzy. So, Jamie, is the story pretty? Again, I don't remember it as well, but is the story pretty faithful?
I think it is. Obviously, creative liberties are taken. Things are shortened down. Things are altered slightly. Things are altered greatly. I couldn't say that this is like a Sin City style panel for panel adaptation. I wouldn't say it's quite as faithful as what the Watchmen movie was to the book, say for the ending. Again, to put it the best way I can, I really think they did the best possible job they could in adapting it without putting in that extra stuff. Like Lex is like a ninth level intellect in this, and they go to so much more detail in the book than they do in the film. I think they convey it fine in the movie, but like in the book, he's having a conversation with Lois and he's on the phone playing chess with like 8 different people at the same time.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. He woke up in the morning and invented the portable tape recorder. He woke up another morning and learned this really obscure dead language. He's a very eccentric type of a genius in that. And he's all but forgotten about his relationship with Lois. In fact, I think at one point in the book, he tells her, our marital status has to be put on hold for the time being while I work on these projects. And she's like, what the F, man? So.
Okay.
Again, their relationship is a lot more contentious in the book than it is in the film. I actually kind of I'm not saying it's better than what they did in the book, but I kind of appreciated in this one that Lois was not like a scorned housewife kind of I mean, she's not a housewife. She's still Lois Lane, but, she's not feeling the angst of her relationship as badly in the film as she was in the book.
Apparently the sex is great.
Yeah, I don't recall that part being in the book. But, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, and I feel like in the book, Batman was more of a cameo. It was like a really quick thing, and I feel like he was expanded on in the movie. Or again, am I just remembering that incorrectly?
The Batman stuff from the time that he confronts Superman face to face to his, exit from the story is damn near as perfect an adaptation as you could have asked for.
Okay. So, yeah, God, I guess I just remember nothing. All right, well, I just was curious. But as far as the movie goes, I did enjoy it. I watched it twice. As I've said with most of these animated films, I think I enjoyed it more the second time than the first. But I also think because the first time I was watching it on an airplane, and then the second time I was actually watching it on my TV, and I just enjoyed it more that way. I think the animation was actually really great. It looked great on the TV. It is an interesting Elseworlds tale, and I think what I like about it is how it's not just an Elseworlds spin on Superman, but there's an Elseworlds spin on the entire DC universe throughout, and I like how many different elements of the DC universe they bring into it and give a fresh take. But I also... I don't think I love it, and I think it's because it is so Elseworlds that it just, to me, is just a little too far off of what I love about these characters, so I'm just not as invested in it. But that, I think, is just more of a personal preference than anything. But overall, I thought it was solid. I enjoyed it. The animation was good. The story moves. A lot happens in an hour and 20 minutes. The performances are good, and again, yeah, it was really fun and interesting to see what they did with each of the different DC characters throughout. And Batman was awesome, but I mean, again, that's tends to be where I land anyway, is I just love watching Batman. So I did like seeing this version of Batman. Even though he's not a great guy, I still really liked him. So yeah, overall, I liked it. It sounds like I didn't love it maybe as much as you guys did, but I enjoyed it for what it is.
I'm curious to actually get into that discussion. So the minute we cross the wall, I want to come right back to the point where you talked about how you think they're too far diverged from where they characters that are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Everything. There's only one character that I feel like is pretty spot on. Everyone else is sort of just this very different version. And again, that's part of the fun of it. That's the freedom that you get by doing Elseworlds. So I don't really blame them for doing it, because, yeah, have fun with it. I just found myself not as invested because I'm like, well, yeah, it's Superman, but not really. Yeah, it's Batman, but not really. It's etc.
Which is funny because that's one of the things I actually really like about it. Like, I love the way they work in so many aspects of the universe and the way that they do it. Again, having not read the comic, I didn't expect that coming in. So I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised, I must say.
Well, I loved that all those things were in it. Like, I do feel like as the movie went on, I got more and more invested in it because they started layering in things like Wonder Woman and Batman and et cetera more. The first act, I was even less into it. But yeah, I mean... So I get what you're saying. I think it's just more of a personal preference thing. But anyway, Superman Red Son, worth your time, worth checking out. It's out there. I think it is on DC Universe now, right?
Don't look at me.
Yeah, we don't get it either.
I bought mine on iTunes when it was on sale for like $10 a month or two ago.
So did I. I think when it goes on sale on iTunes is when it hits DC Universe. So, and yeah, but
that
I did
would make sense because I learned
thing.
The hard way that the iTunes cheap prices usually mean it's streaming for free somewhere, and I always buy the damn thing anyway because I'm an idiot, right?
I do the same thing because you just never know about that streaming access. It just might disappear from the streaming service.
They vanish as quick as they come sometimes.
Yeah, so you don't know. So I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just buy it, especially if it's DC. Like, I'm just going to buy it. Better to have it. But yeah, so it's out there. Check it out. But we are going to get into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled on this, and I think there's quite a bit to spoil. So if you don't want to get spoiled, go check it out. Go give it a watch. It's worth your time. And then come back. Or maybe you've already read the book and don't care about spoilers, or maybe you don't care about spoilers anyway, and you just live your life carefree. And I respect that, and I appreciate it. But the spoiler warning has been out there, so now we are going to speak freely. So, all right, spoilers. Jamie, there was something you said you wanted to jump right to.
Yeah, I mean, you said that, you think the characters vary too much from the characters that to what are portrayed in this film. And to one level, I get where you're coming from with that, because tampering too much with a character can set a fan off the wrong way. But in watching this, for me, it was intriguing that they play the same characters who they are. They just do it as a nature versus nurture sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. More or less, because Superman is still really Superman, and he does things that are very Superman-like, with the exception of killing Stalin, which is a variance from the books. Somebody else kills him in the book. He's there to help. He really wants to help the world. I mean, it's almost like a Superman 4 scenario where he wants to rid the world of war, or in Superman 4 it was nuclear war, but here it's just like war altogether. He wants everybody to be part of the Soviet Union, to be part of the common man. Communism as portrayed in the West is obviously not most people's favorite thing, but their beliefs are that this is the right way to do it versus the way we do it. So Superman, to me, in this, is doing what Superman would do anyway, just a slight variance because of where he grew up, in difference from Kansas to, Moscow or wherever. Batman, instead of having the obsession with wiping out crime, he has an obsession with wiping out a corrupt government and liberating the people. But he's still very much Batman in that sense, except he's a little bit more on the leaning toward the Dark Knight Returns side of it, where he's much edgier, much harsher, not really having the value of human life kind of a thing happen in the way that he does as we know it.
He's a lot
Wonder
more
Woman is new to man's world, but still trying to figure out where the place of Themyscira in man's world should or could be. Hal Jordan is still the arrogant, cocky, pilot type. I mean, again, I really think these characters at their core are still who they are. It's just a difference in, I guess, upbringing, maybe, or even just the locale, less than the parents or whatnot, that makes them a little bit gruffer or what have you.
I'd forgotten about the introduction of the Green Lantern Corps from when I first saw this to when I watched it again last night. So that surprised me again watching it, and I think that's for the Green Lanterns, the way they introduced them being more a military unit. I thought that was really clever.
I don't recall Kennedy being in the book, but my God, I laughed so hard at the exchange that Jordan and Kennedy have when they walk in that room. Because I think Jordan says something like "Christ on a cracker," and he's like, "Oh, sorry, sir." And Kennedy's like, "It's okay, son. I almost shit a brick when I saw it too." I got a huge chuckle out of that.
Yeah, the Green Lantern Corps in particular, I think it's really clever the way they handled them, and I don't disagree with any of the other stuff that you've said, and I really like the way they introduce Bruce. I'd actually forgotten about that part too, that his parents were murdered or died in the Gulag, so you get the motivation for him again. I thought that was really well handled too.
I liked we don't know who Batman is in this, because do we even hear his real name when he's a boy at the start? Because we almost see Batman from the point of every other character would see him, in that we don't know who he is, we don't know what his motivations are, and we see it because it's foreshadowing at the start, but once he turns up, we just see him, causing chaos and murdering people and stuff. And I quite like that we got that for a change, that we didn't see Bruce first, so we didn't see, we just got, the Batman that people see. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I love the way they set him up too. To go back to what Jamie said, I 100% agree, and I 100% understand your point. That's the premise of the story. is the characters at their core are who they are, but because of these different circumstances, this is what they grow to. So I get that. I just don't. Maybe I didn't clearly communicate what I meant by it. Is that everything is so different, I guess. Like, it's its own DC universe. And that's the point of Elseworlds, that I just didn't get as into it. I guess I don't even know how else to say it other than that. It's like everything is so different. None of it is real. None of it's set in the DC universe we know. So I just didn't get as invested. It's just I don't know. I don't know. I'm not being clear.
I totally understand where you're coming from, because some of these things are going to work much better for some people than others. Just like I think Justice League Gods and Monsters is one of the best Elseworlds tales for comics or movies that's ever been done. But I swear to God, Guy Milks and I are the only ones that love it.
Yeah, see, I don't like that one at all.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Is like some people are way more into an alternate reality because I tend not to love Elseworlds in general for that reason. Is like I love the DC universe because I love the DC universe like as it is, and I'm okay with playing in that and adjusting things in that. But when it's a completely separate thing and it has no connection to it, I'm not as inherently interested. Even the ones I do like Gotham by Gaslight, I am still like, oh yeah, it's cool, but like I don't go back to it often because I'm like, well, it's this weird little outlier thing that doesn't have any effect on anything. So I think that's what it is. And this Red Sun feels the same way. It's like I appreciate the concept. I think it's a fascinating and interesting story. I think that the versions of the characters in it are interesting to see the way they twist and spin them. It's just one that I probably won't go back to a lot because I'll go. I'd rather go back and watch something that's more set in the DC universe that I have a stronger attachment to. Because Gods and Monsters, I do like it fine. I when we reviewed it, I thought it was cool. Have I watched it since we've reviewed it? No, I have not.
No, me either. So you're kind of, if you had to choose, you'd probably go for more of a New Frontier.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because it's kind of that wartime setting, but the characters are more the characters. They aren't spins
same
on the
DC universe,
so
same
much.
DC characters, but done in a different time period.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Less of an Elseworlds than an Elsewhen.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, maybe that makes more sense though. But no, I mean I get what you're saying.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
I totally get it. And the biggest thing, one of the biggest divergences in the movie from the book, as I said, there's an additional character that's fairly important in the book. That again, he's like the head of state security. He's an illegitimate son of Stalin, which he's got apparently numerous ones that he doesn't lay claim to, and he knows this kid's his son, but it's one of those, make yourself worthy of being my son because you're not just going to be my son because. Anyway, he's the one that kills Stalin by poisoning him in the book, I think, and he's also the one that kills, I'll call him Bruce because I don't remember what his name actually would be. He's the one that kills Bruce's parents because they were handing out anti-Superman Day literature or something like that. Speaking out against the government stuff. So they killed his parents, and then, the kid's sitting there staring him down, mad as hell, and he points the gun at him. He's like, bullets will kill children too. You better go away. And he turns around to walk away, and he shoots him in the arm as he's walking away, and he doesn't even turn around and look back at him. So, like, in that moment, he's basically become Batman in the same sense, because, like, they show bats behind him and everything else as it's happening, alluding to what's coming. And like I say, the Batman stuff from the book, even the stuff where he first shows up and bombs the museum and the helicopter's chasing after him and he drops the dummy on top of the car, all that shit's in the book too. So like I say, the adaptation of actually Batman in costume is pretty freaking close to panel for panel.
The one of the aspects I really like about it is how you mentioned that, Superman for the most part is still trying to do the right thing, albeit through kind of a warped prism. So I like the fact that you can still kind of, you don't see him as a villain. You're still kind of rooting for him. But at the same time with Lex, they haven't just completely switched them where Superman's a bad guy and Lex is the good guy, because Lex is trying to do the right thing. but he still has elements of being a complete asshole.
He's so ego-driven regardless.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's not a complete one's a good guy, one's the bad guy, let's flip them. You can legitimately understand where both of them are coming from, and you kind of root for both of them, which is a nice change.
Yeah, I do. I like the way everybody is operating in a gray area here because it makes for an interesting story. Like, nobody's right, but nobody's wrong.
Even Batman.
Even Batman.
He's a flat-out terrorist.
Yeah,
but
and
understand where he's coming from.
And that was what I loved about Batman is that, I mean, yes, he's Batman, so I love him. And I do love the design of Soviet
Yes,
Batman.
awesome.
I think he looks great, yeah.
I need that hat. Ears on the stuff, you know.
I'm sure somebody has done a cosplay, but I want to see it because,
sure.
like, how fun! Like, what a cool, weird version of Batman. But Batman is, I think you can definitely say he's a villain in this, but he's a perfect villain because as everybody knows, the best villains are heroes of their own story, and the best villains think that they're doing the right thing. And here's one where you totally understand why he's doing what he's doing. You understand that his goal is actually good, but his methods are wrong. And so he's like the perfect villain in that way because like he's doing the wrong things, but for the right reasons. And so you totally see where he's coming from. And so like, it was really hard to root against almost anyone, even Lex. Like, yeah, Lex is an egotist and he's so, he's obsessed to the expense of everything else. But at the same time, like, he's still trying to protect his country in a way. And he's not a evil person. He's a little misguided, but like, it was kind of interesting to sort of root for Lex a little bit in this too. And I will say, like, how fun that Diedrich Bader, who we love anyway, he's amazing, but that he got to play something very different here and be Lex, and I think he does a great job.
I was surprised when I saw the name pop up because I'm like, oh, they got Diedrich to voice Batman in this, and then it wound up not being him. But that was a fun and interesting take because, number one, I'm just tickled to death that it wasn't Rainn Wilson voicing Lex for a change.
Yeah, it's a nice deviation from the continuity stuff, and I sort of forgot to mention in my pre-spoilers, but back with what you said, Andy, too, I think it looks amazing. Like, I really like that. This, to me, this is what DC animation looks like. It sort of steers away from kind of the anime look that all the continuity movies had, and it's more your pure Bruce Timm DC looking stuff, like the way they're penciled and everything. I think it looks stunning. Yeah,
I agree. Sorry, just to go back real quick, we were talking about voices. Robert Craig Smith is the voice of Batman, and he was the voice of Batman in Arkham Origins, the video game. So cool that he got to voice of. He does a great job. I was very impressed, and I even looked it up, and I was like, wait, the name sounds familiar. Why do I know that name? And then I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he did Batman in Arkham Origins. So I thought that was actually really cool that, he got to do another version of Batman. But he and Jason Isaacs both do very good Russian accents in their Russian versions of these classic characters.
I can't speak for the actual Russian accent, but I loved both of them. Jason Isaacs, he's the one that played the Snidely Whiplash villain in The Patriot, right?
yes.
Okay.
If you're watching Harry Potter at the moment, he's Draco's dad.
I was going to say, more famously, he's Lucius Malfoy.
I'm in the middle of rewatching the Harry Potter movies, and he shows up. I'm like, who is this guy? Because, if I'm watching him in a certain way, I can hit a button on my thing, and it brings up who the cast members are. And it's like Jason Isaacs. I'm like, I know that name. And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it's this guy. So I was just thinking, as I was watching the Harry Potter movies, this guy's decent enough, and he turns in a solid enough performance. I'm surprised I haven't seen him in more stuff. And then today, for the first time, I watched this Red Sun movie, even though I've had it for a while, and I saw the Jason Isaacs pop up. I'm like, no, that's just weird.
He also voiced Raz in Under the Red Hood.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't watched that one in several years, actually.
Oh, and real quick, just before anyone emails me, Roger Craig Smith also was Batman in the Batman Unlimited stuff. So,
yeah, the mutant mechanics.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah.
Which I thought was the case, but I was like, I'd better confirm before I saw it. So, but yeah, like Jason Isaacs does great. I mean, he's a great actor. He also was very good as Captain Hook in that live action Peter Pan movie that came out.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a flop, but it's a good movie if you like Peter Pan.
Is that
but
the one with Hugh Jackman in it?
No, that's not a good movie.
No.
Okay.
You should
I was
not
gonna say,
watch that one.
I'd never heard anybody say nice things about that.
No, that one's terrible. That one's Pan. Peter Pan, I want to say it was like 2003-ish, maybe 2004.
Yeah, it was 2003.
Yeah.
There's so many damn
good.
versions of that story out there. I can't keep track of them. It's like Tarzan.
It honestly is kind of a perfect prequel to Hook, even though that's not what it's supposed to be. But it's a very similar
Peter Pan
style.
is a prequel to Hook, really.
What?
But no, it's good. And then,
No, I just mean stylistically. Like you could watch one with the other, and they actually do fit together pretty well.
Yeah.
I've still
And
never
actually,
seen Hook.
Funnily enough, I think it was either executive produced or produced by Fergie, the ex-Duchess of York.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
Yeah, she had a hand in the making of that movie, and it was shot here at Movie World in Australia as well.
Oh,
Wait,
weird.
the girl from Black Eyed Peas is the Duchess of York? When the hell did that happen?
I definitely thought that Fergie when he said that. I was like, oh, really good for her. Stacey Ferguson? Oh, I love her.
Ex-wife Fergie, yes.
All right, anyway, what? Fergie? So everybody share your favorite Fergie songs? And also... No, okay,
None.
wait. Back to Red Sun. I think one of my favorite moments was when Superman does find the gulag and he sees like what his government's been doing, behind his back, and he doesn't know it. And I love the Batman moment. Like, I thought that was actually really cool. Again, I don't remember what happened in the book, but I think it works probably just as well as what Jamie just described. I like the idea of like Batman being thrown in this gulag. That's how his parents die, and so now he's got not only a grudge against the government, but specifically Superman, because he's like, oh, you can hear everything, but you couldn't hear our cries. It's I think that's a great moment. But when he finds Lana down there, or Svetlana, which I thought was clever. Svetlana.
Very nice twist. Very nice.
And he's like, what did you do to get thrown in here? And she goes, oh, I knew you from before. And so the fact that the government rounded up anyone who knew who Superman was and threw them in a gulag to protect Superman and who, like their asset, was actually really chilling.
I actually like the idea of her being, I don't know if you want to exactly call her the moral compass for Superman in this, but I like the relationship. The stuff with the kids, I don't remember any of that from the book, so I thought that was a nice addition there to show when his powers were coming to be and her knowing about it, and then her circling back around later and being kind of his motivation for it, doing what he's doing on his, quote, quest for peace. In the book, as I recall, he finds out that there are like starving people in Russia that he didn't know about, so he's like going to like this bread line somewhere, and he spots her in the bread line, and she's like, yeah, this is a frequent occurrence and this happens all the time, and that's how he gets motivated to go about and doing what he does in the book. So I actually think the alteration done in the film, especially in regards to her character and him having that driving motivation, I think is a little bit better done in the film than the book.
Mm-hmm. And I like too how it really showed the difference like between East and West, where she discovers the power and straight away she's like, you have to serve the state, where, if it's the American version, it'd be, you need to hide your powers and,
decide for yourself one day what you're going to do.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Whereas it's like
versus being an obligation of what you need to do from the start. Yeah.
And that's from a child's point of view. Straight away, she's like, you need to step forward and serve the state. So I thought that was really, I'm going to say it a lot, but I thought, it was really clever.
Is that bit not in the original book, when he's lifted the tractor up to show?
I don't remember
Svetlana.
that being there. If it is, I just have forgotten about it. I don't remember them touching much at all on him as a kid. The book essentially starts with almost like the newscast, like what this movie starts with right after that, where they're saying, the Russians are saying that they have this Superman over there, and, it could just be propaganda, but, we're not going to live in fear of this thing until we know. And then it kind of kicks off from there. That's how I remember the book starting.
I thought, did they actually show the crashing of his ship in the Soviet Union in the book? I thought they did.
They do, but it's at the end.
Oh,
Curiously
interesting.
enough.
Okay.
See, I expected there to be a post-credit sequence with this because the book ends basically in the case of Lex Luthor. He invents all this technology. He creates world peace. The American way triumphs, and global peace comes about. And like Lex's ancestors have fathered in an era of peace unknown in the universe, and they're talking about like Lex L 2196 and all the things that he's done, and it just rolls through this. And Lex himself lived to be like 400 years old, cured cancer, wiped it out, all this other shit. But it eventually, it's almost like a cyclical thing. It circles back where it says, in the distant future yet, and it's Jor-El and Lara putting their son in the rocket to escape the exploding planet. And then it crash lands in the Soviet Union or Russia or whatever at the end of the book.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Because I really felt like that was sort of a missed opportunity for the movie, is that it's almost like they knew that the only people who are going to watch this are people who already know what it is. So I don't know how accessible it is. Because I feel like you at least have to set up the premise at the beginning. Like show the rocket pass Kansas and land in the Soviet Union, and then immediately viewers go, oh, it missed Kansas, now it's in Russia. Like, I just feel like that's a beat that you need to set up the new version of what the circumstances are. And the fact that they don't show it, I'm just like, well, like, I know what it is because I already know the graphic novel, but I just feel, I don't know, I feel like it's leaning a lot on people already knowing the concept of Red Sun.
That's a good point, actually, and that's something, again, like you, because I know what it is. I'd never given it a second thought, but now that you mention it, yeah, I'm actually really surprised they didn't do that.
Yeah, it just felt a little odd to me. But maybe they go, hey, the only one who buys these are fans, so no need. Could be,
well,
but yeah.
But to be honest with you, if it's not somebody that's got at least a fairly solid grip on the Superman lore, I'm not sure this one's going to make a lot of sense to them at all anyway,
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I couldn't show this to a casual person who just knew who Superman was and have it sit well with them for the most part,
Yeah. It's pretty deep. It's deep in DC lore. It's pretty inside baseball. One thing I really loved about it is the inclusion of Brainiac. I already mentioned Paul Williams. I love Paul Williams, and he's great as Brainiac, as kind of a very chilling, monotone, robotic voice. And I love where the story goes, where we find out that, yeah, Brainiac was subtly manipulating Superman the whole time. He, Superman thinking that Brainiac was serving him, but Brainiac really just nudging him as he wanted, which I thought was really cool. I just wish they had done a better job. Like, I feel like they should have made a much bigger deal about Superman defeating Brainiac earlier in the film. Because as it is in the film, it's almost like during a montage where it's like, oh yeah, and also Superman defeated Brainiac, and then he reprogrammed him. And it's like, it's done very quickly and cursory. It's like they give so much more time to Superior Man, who turns out to be pointless, than they do Brainiac, who turns out to be very important. And I'm like, I just feel like...
That was a character change I don't think I cared for very much, because... in the book, yeah, I'm Jeremy Lloyd today. Get off me. In the book, he comes out of the gates and he's essentially Bizarro right from the start. As a matter of fact, he's not called Superior Man. As I recall, Lex refers to him as Superman 2. Not as in Superman TOO, as in Superman the number 2. And he's
Christmas
already partially deformed, doesn't have fully functioning. He's Bizarro.
Yeah.
And effectively, Bizarro... there's something going on, and Bizarro winds up sacrificing himself to save a bunch of people, and he winds up dying that way. So, as much credit as I want to give him for the alterations that they made earlier, and thinking they did it better with Svetlana and whatnot, the stuff they did with Superior Man / Bizarro, I think they really missed the opportunity there by quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. And I wish they had really leaned into the Bizarro thing a little stronger, because even in the final product, even towards the end, he doesn't really look like Bizarro. He's talking like him, but he just looks like this mutant, this mutated
Looks like
thing.
old mate from the Goonies.
Yeah, like I like the idea of Lex being like, nope, hit him again, hit him again, hit him again. But like, he should have just transformed into Bizarro. And then, again, as DC fans, you go, oh, cool, this is their version of Bizarro. But as it's done, I just feel like they sort of have 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
And that's the moment where you sort of really get the stereotypical Lex too, where, he doesn't give a shit, because to him, this thing's not human, it's just an experiment. So, I thought that was a nice touch. But talking about Brainiac too, I liked how the Shrunken City was Stalingrad. I thought that was really cool. Because obviously it's got a lot of historical significance, with World War II and everything. But I thought that was a nice touch that, they were able to include that as well. And how you mentioned that it was Brainiac manipulating Superman for the majority of the story, that was another way too of sort of having your cake and eating it too, where you could have Superman be doing the wrong thing and it not be his fault in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like, I thought it was a great... It's such a great idea for the story. I just felt like they didn't tell it in the most effective way. Because, like, again, it almost feels like... we just talked about Frozen, so it reminds me of Frozen. It's like they so wanted to preserve the twist that Brainiac was the bad guy the whole time, is that he got such short thrift until the final act, because it's like they didn't want to tip their hand. And I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, you still have to make him more integral to the story, so when that turn happens, it means more.
That's exactly what I was thinking too, where it was like they don't make you think that much about him because they don't want you to think about him.
Yeah.
They want it to have that shock factor, which, to be honest, the first time I watched it genuinely did. Like, I did not see that coming at all. So for me, it worked, but I do understand what you're saying as well.
Yeah. I mean, because, by the end, I love it. Like, I love that he's the actual bad guy. I love that Superman and Lex have to team up. I like that we get Lex in the power suit. Like, I really liked the climax. I thought it was a really great climax for this story to see Superman and Lex, who've now been fighting for their countries from afar for, at this point, 30 or 40 years?
It's decades, yeah.
Yeah, like, which I do think that's really cool about this story, too, is how it spans decades. It starts and just keeps jumping forward in time and time and time. We watch Lex slowly going bald.
Lex's hair, that's the time marker.
So I think it's actually a perfect climax for the story. I just think the setup could have been stronger. And I think that Superior Man stuff, like, that's the stuff you didn't need, because it doesn't really amount to much. It's, like, it's almost a little blip in their rivalry because there's no follow-up on it. So that could have been your montage thing, and then give a little more time to Brainiac.
Well, I'm going to Jeremy Lloyd you again. In the book, Lex creates dozens of people who go after Superman, including Metallo and Chemical Man and Doomsday and just all these other, like, pretty much every major Superman bad guy that isn't like an alien force, and probably some of them who are shown in the museum right before Batman blows it up. That's actually what the tour guide's telling them about, is all the different things that Lex Luthor has invented to try and stop Superman, and failed with all of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, every time that you say "in the book," you owe me a quarter. So I'm keeping track. Right now, you owe me $1.25. And then Brendan mentioned the Green Lantern Corps. That was something I didn't expect, which was a kind of a nice surprise. Because you expect the Trinity, and honestly, if I'm being honest, my favorite thing about this is the Trinity and watching the three of them clash, especially when it all comes to a head, when Batman lures Superman out and he's got a trap waiting. I love that scene. I think that's my favorite part, and maybe it's because it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Like, maybe that's why it's my favorite. But the Green Lantern thing I thought was a nice bonus and a nice surprise, and like a really interesting twist on the Corps. The Corps is no longer space cops, but the Corps is now a part or a division of the U.S. government who found a ring 20 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever the timing was.
It does feel very New Frontier to me, that the Green Lantern aspect anyway.
Yeah,
I can see the parallels there. This is the one part of the movie that really, I mean, I'm not saying that the other stuff I think is perfect. I understand the points. The Superior Man stuff I wasn't excited about at all. I think it was just too much with that character. And then we get into the stuff with the Green Lanterns, and I love the Green Lanterns getting Superman almost having it. And then the part that drives me guano loco happens. Wonder Woman shows up. She knows what Superman's doing. I'm not going to talk about the book here. If you all want to read the book, but it happens way differently in the book. In fact, the Amazons and the Green Lanterns are simultaneously attacking the book. So there you go. Anyway, she shows up and basically busts him out of that contraption that they have him in. They had him locked inside of like 8 of these power ring boxes, and they're collapsing the boxes on him, and they've got him. He's dead to rights. And she shows up and prevents that from happening, and then says, peace, you're never going to see me again because you're kind of an asshole, and then leaves, and then he kicks all the Green Lanterns' asses because they lost their advantage. That drives me crazy. Like, if you want to come in there and tell them to stop their war and all that shit, great. Let them kill the guy that nobody can kill first, then go in and tell them all the shit they're doing wrong. But, story reasons and all.
Yeah, it felt like a really weird story contrivance in that she pops in out of nowhere after she's already written him off, saves him, gives him a speech, and then flies off again. Where you're like, what was the point of that?
They abridged that one just a little bit too hard, and I think they kind of missed with that one.
Yeah,
I like that's my least favorite part in the whole movie.
Yeah, I like the moment where she does say something about like, "Oh, I'm going to go talk to Lex," and he goes, "No." Superman goes, "No, he'll manipulate you," and she goes, "Do you really think that little of me, that I'm so easily manipulated?" I thought that was kind of a nice moment, because like come on, she's freaking Wonder Woman, like show some respect. But yeah, like the whole interaction just feels arbitrary, and then it ends as quickly as it begins, and it doesn't really amount to much.
It's another one where I
do want to point out he tries to make a romantic play on her, and she backs off and is like, "I'm from an island of women. Figure the rest out for yourself."
Right.
I really like that. That's a change from source material as well, and I think one for the better. Because she's kind of smitten for him in the book, and it's kind of a puppy love thing, and it's annoying. But anyway.
Yeah, that makes I like that.
They
moment.
even have their cake and eat it too with that one, because they cut back and to where a little bit of time's passed where they're talking, and Superman says like, "I thought you were expecting a romantic relationship, whereas for me, I don't give a shit." Like,
yeah, that was a cool thing actually of him being like, "Oh, it's a distraction. I don't need that. I've got to focus on the mission," which was like another neat angle, because it's essentially what like dictator Superman, which I do think that over the years of Superman, there have been a lot of like what ifs or it's kind of the premise of Batman versus Superman. What if he just decides he wants to take over? Like, who's going to stop him? Yeah, exactly. Injustice. Like, there's a lot of versions, and this is sort of another version of that, where he's trying to be a benevolent dictator, but that still doesn't stop him from trying to take over the world and take people's freedom.
Yeah, I like that he's always Superman in this. There's no like, pretending to working at the Daily Planet and pretending to be Clark Kent and stuff. He's always on. He's always Superman.
Yeah.
We see him in his traditional uniform, but with the Soviet Union piece.
Which I think the costume designs for that are really cool. Actually, everybody's costume designs in this I think are great.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like the Phase 2 Wonder Woman where she's in the all white.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, with gold,
white hair and everything.
Yeah.
And I do like the Clark Kent nod at the end as well. I think
that was really cool.
I do like how he changes uniform, Superman, after he kills Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
He goes for a more sort of
it's more
dictator general. Yeah.
Militaristic, if that's how you say the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I also like that he kills Stalin because of the gulags and imprisoning people, and then he comes up with his own version of that, which is essentially mind control. And he's like, well, it's better than the gulags, but it still amounts to the same thing. So, it really speaks to like, oh, he wanted to fix the system, and yet somehow he still got backed into the system.
Yeah, because what's he going to do for Batman? He's like, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to give you a nice job working at the laundry or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like maybe the working conditions might be cleaner and more worker friendly, but still kind of the same thing. You're forcing someone into labor there. So
Yeah.
that mind control thing's kind of unsettling too, by the way.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah. And I wonder, was that Brainiac technology maybe?
That's how I took it.
Because that would make sense. Yeah. I love the design of Brainiac because it harkens back to like the Superpowers Brainiac.
Yeah, like the metallic skeleton looking.
Yeah. I really dug that too.
You know, flying skull ship too. I mean, we can't forget about that. But
Right, which is so cool.
I actually thought of Scotty when I saw that. I was watching that earlier today.
It's his favorite version.
I can't blame him.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go to the end of
Jamie's favorite place. Surprised you didn't start
I waited
there.
this long.
Yeah.
Here's another quarter, Andy. In the book, Brainiac gets him to that same point where he tells him, you know, you can't have this confrontation with him verbally. You have to basically go in there and kick his ass and take over America. And he gets over there, and him and Brainiac are arguing a little bit. And he's like, he's a level 9 intelligence. I calculate it would be less than 4 minutes before he talked you into killing yourself. And what happens there is they hand him a note. And the conversation that they have, and you know what Lois does walking out of the White House, very much does the same thing, but it's more of a visual thing than not. Because in the book, the note says, it's just a handwritten note that she gives to Superman that's from Lex that says, why don't you just put the whole world in a bottle? And he just buckles right then and there when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, you know, her walking out with a bottle in her hands, and it does the same thing. It just presents it in a different way. So I kind of like the transition that they made there, because I'm not sure how effective a handwritten note would have been, even though from there the climax pretty much plays out the same in both versions, book and movie.
Okay. No, that's cool. Like I do like the you know, the city in the bottle kind of as the metaphor for the world he wants to create. I thought that was really interesting. I loved Lois's gift to Lex, which were the 2 chess pieces of Lex and Superman.
Yes.
That was really neat. And even when she explains, which you guys mentioned earlier on, where she's like, yeah, why do I put up with it? And yeah, she says the sex is great, but she goes, because no matter what, he's going to change the world. So it's like the price you pay for being with a genius is sometimes you're not going to come first, but it's the price she's willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
She does come, though. That's the thing.
Boy.
We haven't mentioned Jimmy. I like
Oh,
the
yeah.
character as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
with there not being a daily... Well, not that we get to see a Daily Planet, it's nice to work him in that he's Lex's offsider, not so much, you know, Perry White's. And he becomes president.
Yeah, good for Jimmy Olsen. You wait long enough, you eventually become president. Well earned.
Semi-racist of me that whole sequence, all I could think of was Goldie Wilson.
Oh, man.
I'll pay you quarter here, Jamie, but in the book, just out of curiosity, is Jimmy black, or is he
No.
played white in the book?
He's honky.
Okay.
This is the Supergirl Jimmy Olsen. James Olsen.
Yeah, that's because I was curious if it was like that in the book, or if they were kind of going the you know, the Supergirl James Olsen route.
Yeah, definitely.
I just think people are playing a lot more with Jimmy because it's a character that, and I'm going to preface this before I say it. I don't care if they make Superman black, Batman black, gay. I don't care about any of that stuff. It doesn't faze me. Representation is great. Have it. So I think Jimmy is just one of those characters that not enough people care about, that they think they can just easily make the change of him being black instead of white, and they're not going to catch a lot of blowback from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true.
Unless the story is you're making him a female, like they did in Man of Steel.
Now, see, I said that too, and everybody told me it wasn't Jimmy. So
Well,
whatever.
it was always a very gray area, is that everybody, like, no one ever said it was Jimmy, but it was obvious that Jenny sort of served that purpose to get another female character, which again, that's something I've always liked about Zack Snyder.
I thought she was cool.
Yeah. Zack is very supportive of diversity. He's like, yeah, like we need more women in this movie. And yeah, Jimmy,
it's
someone
part of one of my favorite moments in Man of Steel where Perry refuses to leave her and holds onto her hand when there no imminent death is coming. I love that scene
such a good
so
scene.
much. Anyway.
But they just called her Jenny. So there was always the opening for Jimmy to come later. So it was a way that they sort of could have their cake and eat it too. Is like, there is no Jimmy Olsen in Man of Steel. There's just this Jenny, but Jimmy Olsen can come later, and then turns out he does in BVS. So it wasn't the same character, but it was essentially that character slot. He swapped one out for another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just remember people losing their mind about it. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, so it's a good overview of Superman Red Son. Why don't we give it some overall closing thoughts and letter grades, Jamie?
I think it's a very enjoyable movie. I think it's a good adaptation. I don't think it's you're never going to mistake one for the other. They're telling the same story, but they do it in kind of a different approach, which is usually the case when you adapt a classic or any kind of a comic book story into an animated or live action format. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It works for some people better than others, obviously, as we already had that discussion here. But I think they were as faithful as they could have been with the changes that they chose to make. They didn't make all what I would have chosen to be the right choices, or would say would be the right choices in like the case of Superior Man, or in the case of, the Wonder Woman bailing Superman out with the Green Lanterns. I mean, these are not choices I would have made, nor do I think they were the best choices that could have been made. But overall, I really think they did a solid job adapting that story. And again, I have a great affinity for the graphic novel anyway, and I think they did well enough with this. For me, this is an A-.
All right. Brendan, what about you?
I genuinely really love this movie. I thought it was fantastic. Like, I loved it the first time I watched it. I loved it just as much last night when I watched it for the second time. Funnily enough, I mean, and I like my Superman movies, but I mean, I'd watched this before The Death of Superman, particularly The Return of Superman, or whatever that one was called. I'd probably watch it before Superman. Was it Superman Unbound?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was a Brainiac movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd watch it over the one that had Manchester Black. I can't remember what that one was called.
It was a team of 4 of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't even remember the name of
versus-
it. I watched it once and I put it back on the shelf. It's never come off again since. I hated that one.
Like, even though it is very, very much an Elseworlds tale, like we've been talking about, I genuinely love it, and I love the takes on the characters and how they've given them those twists, and I think it's really, really well done. And we've said the animation's beautiful. This is one that I'll probably watch at least at least once a year. I would say moving forward, when I get that itch about wanting to watch an animated DC movie, what one do I want to go for? I'd go for this more often than not. I think it's brilliant, and I still haven't read the book, but I need to. So I'll probably grab that off Comixology next time they have a big DC sale, I would say, and check it out. But for me, it's a solid A. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Given what you're telling me about the movie, I'd be shocked if you didn't love the book just as much.
No, I'm definitely. I'm keen to. If there's more to the book than the movie, I'm keen to explore more of this world. I think it's better, and I like Gotham by Gaslight. I think it's better than Gotham by Gaslight. I think it's better than Lex Luthor, the Man of Steel. In terms of Elseworld stories, as far as they go, this is right up there for me. I think it's fantastic.
All right, nice. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I was going to give it a B+, but when I see that Tara Strong's managed to get away into another one, A-.
Okay.
We'll always go for level. I see her name. Yeah, no, seriously, it's an A-. Yeah, I loved almost everything about it. It was nice to see Superman not be the all American Boy Scout, and it was nice that it was Superman all the time, and everything we've talked about. It was, yeah, not quite an A, but an A minus.
All right. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I do think that it definitely still works as a story and as a movie, even if you have not read the book. So yeah, I mean, it does make me want to revisit the graphic novel just to see the changes, because gosh, I couldn't remember any of it. But I think that they did a good job of preserving the story, that it works regardless. And I think that there were changes they could have made throughout that we talked about. So I liked it. Again, I didn't love it. I don't know how much I'll revisit it, but I thought it was pretty good. So for me, it's a B. So yeah, that's a B, 2 A minuses, and an A. All above average, but a little bit of variation there, but that's all right. So Superman Red Sun, check it out and see where you land as far as we're concerned. But we also watched something else, another DC animated property. We are continuing our journey through Batman Beyond. So yeah, let's take a look at the next episode of Batman Beyond. All right, this is season 2, episode 13, Terry's Friend Dates a Robot. Story by Paul Dini, written by John P. McCann, directed by Dan Reba. This one aired on January 15th of 2000. So we are halfway through season 2, so we are slowly making our way. So this episode, Terry's Friend Dates a Robot. I wonder what it's about.
So when you told me the episode we had to watch, because I couldn't remember, and you told me that, I'm like, is that a title or a plot synopsis?
And it turns out it's both.
Now, sometimes you get a corny title like that, and it's a fun throwback to 50s sci-fi horror sort of things, but no.
I assume that's what it's trying to be, because it is weird, because usually the titles are like one word, or at least there's something a little more vague or powerful. Like this title stands out amongst all the different Batman Beyond episodes. It's kind of odd, but it's not inaccurate. That's what it is. So Terry has this friend named Howard. Howard is a big geek. He's trying to have a party. He's inviting all the cool kids to his party. Nobody wants to come. And he's like, I wish, these people gave me the time of day, and they would if I had a hot girlfriend. And so at the same time, Terry needs to go buy a new android to beat up while he's training to be Batman. There's a great opening scene where Terry is training and he is fighting these different androids, but they're of classic Batman villains. So it's just nice to see those Batman villains in some form in the show. So I like that. But he's going to buy a new android to beat up on, and Howard comes with him. And it turns out that this android maker, who I think he looks like he's inspired by like Steve Buscemi.
Oh, it's totally
definitely
Steve Buscemi.
Without question.
And he's running like an illegal under the table operation where he's making android girlfriends for lonely men. Howard,
because the first thing an android building company would do is not build sex robots where the money would be at, right? Come on.
That's what's happening now.
I would rather build robots that fight instead of the other F word. Sorry, go on.
It's okay. So he is building sex robots, but it's not legal. So he's doing it under the table. Howard realizes this, and he's like, here's a credit card. Please get me one. Make her redheaded with green eyes and make her hopelessly devoted to me. So did I hear hopelessly devoted to you?
Head off of that right now.
I was going to say, did I hear Olivia Newton-John sing when he said that? I definitely did. And so she's a synth. He calls her Cynthia. And yeah, so now he's got this sexy redheaded girlfriend running around with him at school. And guess what? It works. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, like there must be more to Howard than meets the eye. He's got this great looking girlfriend. So turns out she is hopelessly devoted to him. And starts getting very jealous. Anyone who causes issues for Howard. She starts attacking. So she attacks Nelson, the bully, who is voiced by Seth Green. He's back again. She beats up on him. She beats up on Terry. And then she starts beating up on, eventually, Howard. Because Howard's like, oh, this ain't working. It's too much. We can still be friends. And when he says we can still be friends, she finally loses it. And it just goes haywire at this party. And so Batman has to stop her, and they end up blowing up Howard's house just in time for Howard's parents to come home and see the house. So that's Terry's Friend Dates a Robot. Jamie, you already said this is your favorite episode of the show. So tell us the top 10 reasons why it's your favorite, starting with 10, working your way up to 1.
This here is a Charles Barkley episode, y'all. It's terrible. Just terrible. I mean, they wanted an excuse to put Poison Ivy in it, so they made an android that looked like Poison Ivy without the green skin, basically. And the kid, what's his name? The
Howard Groot.
Howard, yeah. I am Groot. Howard. He looks like a human teenage boy version of one of the Go-Go Gophers. Nobody under 40 understands that reference, but that's okay. I think this story was terrible. I think this writing was just as terrible. I think the concept was close to as terrible. I think the reason that they had the Riddler and Killer Croc up there in the beginning was because they had to have something cool in there to have Batman fans not change the channel 3 minutes into the episode. I didn't like a damn thing about this one at all.
Great. Brendan?
When I pressed play on this, and in the opening credits, I saw story by Paul Dini, I was like, oh, okay, I might like this one. And then, opening scene is you're seeing all the classic Batman villains again. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. This is shaping up to be really good. And man, did it shit the bed pretty much straight after that scene. It's just horrible. I echo everything Jamie said. I hated it, and I mean you talk about it, whatever a go-go gopher is. I think that Howard is. I'm
over 40, and I don't know the go-go gophers. Maybe it's an Indiana thing.
Well, you don't know who Tennessee Tuxedo is, judging by that episode of Futurama a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't know him either.
It was part of that whole cartoon block.
Okay.
I think he's meant to be more a caricature of Paul Dini, to be honest.
He does. Yeah, he does kind of look like
giant teeth up at the top of his mouth.
No, but but I reckon that's kind of where they got the inspiration. I mean, it's the only time I've ever been. I mean, granted, he didn't write it. It's just story by Paul Dini. It was written by somebody else, but it's the only thing that Paul Dini's name has been attached to. Or I was just completely disappointed. Like, I would rather watch the Farmer Brown episode of Batman the Animated Series than this.
That's because that was friggin' great. Talk goat and shit, hell yeah.
There's nothing. It doesn't even feel like a Batman Beyond episode. It's really like from the title down. It's bizarre. It doesn't work on any level for me. Absolutely, just horrible.
Okay, Chris. Don't feel peer pressure. You can be honest. Did you like it? Did you not?
I don't think Tara Strong could have rescued this one, to be honest. You say Paul Dini pitched the idea. Do you think he was just like,
drunk, high?
I imagine he was just walking past the room and he didn't even break stride. He just shouted in, "Terry's Friend Dates a Robot, go."
Yeah, that could be it.
That's all they've done.
Seriously?
I think what happened is they called him up and said, "Hey, Paul, we're kind of thin on ideas on what to do with an episode this week. What do you think?" He's like, "I think that Batman should bust a sex robot trafficking ring run by Stephen Buscemi." They're like, "Cool, we got it. We'll take it from here."
You'll get 10%.
Within the first 2 or 3 minutes when he's fighting and he breaks the classic Batman villain's training, I was thinking to myself, oh, it could be all right, this, because they thought about this. They thought the training wouldn't have been updated since Bruce's prime, so it would be still with the old villains. I thought, they thought about this. It's going to be that sort of layered thing, and then, Yeah, do we even see Bruce Wayne again? I hear him.
Nope, just that first scene.
No,
That
not in it again, is it at all? So no, it's generally with Batman Beyond. I'm not really a fan, but not to damn it with faint praise, but it is watchable. I'm not into it, but when it comes on, it's like, oh yeah, it's all right. You know, I can watch it. It is watchable, but this one was. I think this is the worst one we've got to yet. By watching it in time with the show, I've been following it. Yeah, this is the. I think this is the bottom so far. For Batman Beyond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I say? I say all three of you are crazy, but this time you're also correct. Doesn't change that you're crazy. Yeah, this. Guys. Oh man. Speaking of why not Futurama did it better. There's a whole episode.
The Lucy Liu thing?
Yes, there's a whole episode where Fry falls in love with a robot who looks like Lucy Liu. It's a great episode. Watch that instead. That's my advice to you.
Sidetrack to that, I was watching Harry Potter the other night, and I was cracking up laughing because all the owls were on there, and all I could think was Farnsworth talking about the owl problem.
Yes.
Anyway, go on.
But this, the opening scene is fun because Terry is training with all these robots who look like classic villains, and then you can just stop. Leave it there. That should have been the episode. Is that, yes, like Terry goes and gets another, a replacement droid. It's corrupted because this guy's doing stuff on the black market. All of the droids that were old Batman villains, they go haywire, and Terry has to go stop them. I'd watch that.
I would.
I would have been way more into that.
But yeah, like his nerdy friend wanting a girlfriend and buying a robot, and the robot is jealous. I think you just said it, Chris. Is like, this doesn't even feel like a Batman Beyond episode, or did you say that, Brent? I can't remember who said it, but
that was me. Anyway,
sorry, one of you guys said that, but I agree. Like, it doesn't even feel like it's in the world of Batman. It doesn't even feel like it's in the world of Batman Beyond. It's just this weird outlier. There was an episode a couple of times ago where they made the crack of, it all feels so high school, and that I feel is true for this one, where I'm like, this just feels like, it feels like a story from Saved by the Bell, where instead of a robot, Screech hires a girl from another school to come pose as his girlfriend. Like, that's what it feels like.
I'd watch that too.
But like,
I love Saved by the Bell.
Like, why is this a Batman episode? This is just, nothing about it works. It's ridiculous. I was trying to not be the naysayer as I was watching it. I was like, maybe there's something good in here, maybe. But no, I'm sorry, calling it like it is. This is a bad episode. It was a bad idea. This doesn't work for Batman. I'm like you, Chris. Like, Batman Beyond's not my favorite, but I will watch it. And as you guys have heard as we've gone through the show, I tend to like it more than Brendan and Jamie, but it's never been my thing. But yeah, man, like, this one's hard to defend. It's not a good one.
Did you spot the at the very end when Mr. Groot turned up when his house had been burnt down? Did you spot whose voice that was right at the end?
I did. That's actually one of the few fun things. It was Dan Castellaneta.
Yeah.
So yeah, Homer Simpson. Yeah, so that's fun.
Yeah, I didn't watch the credits on this one because I couldn't wait to get the hell away from it.
No, fair enough. Hard to blame you, but yeah, I did happen to notice that. I thought that was kind of neat, but yeah, there's not much else I can say about this one. So letter grades for Terry's Friend Dates a Robot. Jamie?
I'm gonna call this one a D- because I don't think this is what's going to be playing in the waiting lobby in hell, but it's not far off of it.
Okay. Brendan?
do we go as far as F?
You can do whatever you want. Live your life.
F. I'd give it a Z if I could.
Okay.
What's a Z? Is that anything like a Z?
It's the proper way of saying Z.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Chris?
I would give it an E.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well.
A bit better than an F, but not that much.
Yeah. I'll go with the D- because the opening scene keeps it from being an F for me. So
shout out to Max. Max had a little involvement in this episode.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Max tries to fight a little bit, which is cool.
Seriously, they should just make her Robin and just be done with the whole thing, or Batgirl or something.
I'd be into it. All right, well, not the finest hour for Batman Beyond. And see, I have my own theory about how this is story by Paul Dini. I think that when they initially were putting Batman Beyond together, they were all talking about story ideas and everything. And Paul Dini said, just whatever you do, don't do something ridiculous like having Terry's friend date a robot. That's stupid. Don't do it. And they went, Terry's friend dates a robot. Underline. Got it. Thank you.
Listen, when we got started with this whole Batman Beyond review thing, I promised everybody I was going to be as fair as possible about it, and I have been. But I never said I wasn't going to be honest, and this episode sucks. That's the honest truth.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully we have better luck next time. The next one up is Eyewitness. So here's hoping. Fingers crossed. But we're not ready to say goodbye just yet because, as always, we have to crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, here we go. This email. Oh, it's another Superman email. Crazy.
Hi,
Steven. I'm actually kind of surprised. This is from Tanishk. Says, hello, I love all the way from India. Said, I was going through some old articles and found that Zack Snyder called Ant-Man a flavor of the week. The irony I found is that the character of Ant-Man got to shine in his own two movies, as well as Civil War and Endgame, where when Zack Snyder introduced Superman, the granddaddy of all superheroes, it has no movie in active development, and it sucks as a Superman fan. Your thoughts? Also, what are the things you definitely want to see in the next Superman movie, and what don't you want to see? For me, I'd like to see Brainiac done justice, and I don't want another dark and moody, depressing Superman. Keep up the good work. My bat blessings are with you. Thank you, Tanishk. And good to hear from you. So, yes, Superman. What would you like to see in another Superman movie, and what don't you want to see? Jamie?
What would I like to see? I mean, obviously, Brainiac is probably going to be the overwhelming choice there. Metallo would be an interesting choice. Basically, any major villain that Superman has in his docket, with the exception of Lex Luthor or Zod or Doomsday, would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
What don't I want to see? Lex Luthor, Zod, or Doomsday. Well, let me reiterate that. I'm not saying I don't want to see Lex Luthor. I just don't want him to be like the primary villain behind the whole thing again. You know, if he wants to have like a cameo running around doing some business, that's fine. But I don't need a whole Lex-based movie again.
Right. Got it. Brendan?
Yep, pretty much cut and paste everything Jamie said. I totally agree in the way that I'd like to see Lex involved, don't get me wrong, because I mean he is part of Superman's world and a massive part of it at that. But yeah, we've done the Lex and Zod thing to death in terms of them being the main villain, and it's no pun intended. It's kind of a no-brainer that Brainiac should be the next one in line. I think that would be the easiest choice in the world. I don't know. I mean, you guys know I don't have an issue with Cavill's version of the character. Would I like to see it be potentially a little bit more, quote-unquote traditional Superman? Sure. Because I like everyone, I think Cavill has a really, really good Superman movie in him. And in saying that, I think Man of Steel is a friggin' tremendous Superman movie. But I would love to see him.
Wrong, but okay.
What's that? Sorry.
You said best ever wrong, but okay.
Well, no, actually, to me, it is the best Superman movie. I love it. It's my favorite of all of them. But yeah, I'd love to see him go head to head with something like Brainiac and build on that world. And if it's a little bit more sunny, than the previous go-rounds with Cavill. I'm all for that as well.
All right, Chris.
I'd quite like to see a payoff for in Man of Steel when you get the other Kryptonian pods crash and it's open and empty. Is that a tease for Supergirl? Is it Man of Steel?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind. I'm not saying center the whole thing around Supergirl, but I wouldn't mind sort of looking into that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, obviously, I mean, Brainiac's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Did he say in the email that the 2 Superman films sucked?
Like the fact that there's not
Have I
one in
missed-
development.
Yes, like he certainly
Oh,
implies that he does not like Zack Snyder's version of Superman.
Fair
That seems pretty clear.
And use at restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all you guys. Brainiac is the next logical choice and something that we've been waiting to see in a movie for a very long time. And I'd be okay with even expanding the Rogues Gallery past that. Like, I think that there's a way that Brainiac creates Metallo to go after Superman, and they're sort of working together. Like, I love Lex Luthor and I love Zod, but yeah, Superman has so many other great villains we can take advantage of. Let's do that. And I hear Paul Williams is available, and he can write you a song for the soundtrack. So let's do it. But I will say Lex Luthor should still be there. I agree with Jamie. He should not be the focus, but I think he should always be there in the back, like playing the angles. I don't want to get rid of him. As for the next, as for everything else, like, I understand your point. I agree with Jamie and Brendan. We love Man of Steel. Understand that not everybody does, but yeah, like, I agree with Brendan as well. Is that like a little more traditional take on Superman, but still set in the world that was created in Man of Steel? I think would be great. I'd be all for it. Next message is from Hugh Morris. It says, "Greetings, Andy, Jamie, and maybe Keith Urban." Oh,
Okay.
I guess that's you. He says, "I love the Watchmen episode. Did you listen to the official Watchmen podcast with Damon Lindelof? If not, I highly recommend it. I also want to say that my mother-in-law watched it. She's not a comic book fan. She asked me some questions here and there about what was going on. I helped her the best I could trying to explain some history of the characters, and she ended up really liking the show. She wanted to watch the movie to get a better understanding of the characters. Needless to say, she liked the movie as well. Sorry for the long email. I hope you're staying safe." Thanks, Hugh. This is not that long of an email. You should see some of the ones I get for Disorder. This is not that bad. Thank you, Hugh. And I think Hugh is responding to the fact that the question I asked on Watchmen is like, does this work if you don't know Watchmen? And it sounds like more or less. I will also say, though, that I have another friend who just started watching Watchmen because of all the Emmy nominations, and it was nominated for like every Emmy ever, which, as it should be, it was amazing. And this friend doesn't know Watchmen, and he's like, I have no idea what's going on. So I think that, maybe that is an issue. I don't know. But glad that you were there, Hugh, to help your mother-in-law along, and glad she enjoyed the show.
Everybody should watch that show. It's
I
fucking
agree.
great.
All right, next message is from our old pal Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey guys, I love the podcast and I hope you're staying safe. My question, you're given the keys to the Batcave and you can make your own Batman trilogy or quadrilogy, etc. What would your pitch be to WB for your Batman movies? Thanks for the podcast. Stay safe. Tom Fallows, Liverpool." Thanks, Tom. I like this question. I feel like we've had similar questions in the past, but I'm always happy to pitch a Batman trilogy. But Jamie, why don't you go ahead?
First of all, I have him in a very traditional costume, closer to Affleck than the armored looks that all the other live-action Batman seem to carry, except for Adam West. Just because I love Andy so much, I would make it blue and gray.
Aw, sweet.
I would have the first movie of him going out and recruiting. Like, Dick Grayson is already under his tutelage. He's not quite Robin yet, but like, a quick thing at the beginning saying how he came into being his ward, and by the end he's Robin, and Batman is actively searching out other people to recruit him, helping him in Gotham, being it, Lucius Fox or Barbara Gordon, people like that. In the second movie, I would have a more active role with Robin, Batgirl, more of the Bat family like that. Maybe even have him find Jason Todd stealing the hubcaps off the Batmobile toward the end of the movie. Third movie, I just have a full-blown, all-out war between the Bat family and the Rogues Gallery.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brendan?
This would be a cool episode idea, like to really, have some more time to really flesh it out. But I think you guys would be familiar with, and the listeners as well. I really want to see the Bat family be introduced into, whatever that's we're kind of hoping for with Pattinson. I don't know if we're going to get it or not, but without having a lot of time to think about it, I think I would walk into a pitch room and just go, "Hey guys, you know that really, really popular cartoon series you have called Batman the Animated Series? Everything about the cartoon, the spirit, the aesthetic, the costumes, just do that. Do that in a feature version, live action, and spread it across 3 or 4 movies." That's again, without having a lot of time to think, that's what my pitch would be, is just do that, but in live action. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be reinvented every single time you come to the character. Just do that, because people friggin' love it.
All right, very nice. Chris, thoughts?
I would start the first one with already having a Batman and Batgirl. I'd get straight into it. We've had enough origin stories and setup and sort of Batman becoming Batman. I'd go straight in with Batgirl and Batman, and then we'd get a Robin, and then in film 2 he'd become Nightwing, and then we get a Jason Todd, and then pay that off in the third film, etc. As for the villains, I think I'd try and go for some of the lesser used villains so far. I'd have the Riddler in one of them at least. Mm-hmm. And I'd just try to avoid using the Joker too much. As much as I love the Joker, we've had a lot of him. Yeah, but mainly the Batgirl. Basically, that's my answer. Just Batgirl.
Okay.
Yeah, some Batgirl.
Addendum to mine, Batman would also have his internal monologue going in the film too.
Oh, yeah.
I've wanted that for years.
I think that we are all in the similar neighborhood. Yeah, like I think stylistically, I would try to go like what Brendan said, a more live action version of the animated series, so a little more comic booky, but without being completely over the top and cartoony. But yeah, a more traditional Batman costume. I would start with Batman already in operation, already in his prime. And to Jamie's point, he would have I feel like I've pitched this before, is my Batman trilogy would be more of a Robin trilogy. And so the first film would be Batman already in operation, and it would really be about him and Dick Grayson, Dick Grayson being Robin. And honestly, if you really want to talk about inspiration for each movie, the inspiration for the first movie would be Robin's Reckoning. I would still incorporate a more traditional villain, so maybe it would be Robin's Reckoning, but the Riddler would be in there causing trouble as well, and the Penguin would be operating the Iceberg Lounge and whatnot. And then movie 2 would really be about Dick Grayson moving on and Jason Todd. And so the second movie would be more A Death in the Family. So it would be Jason Todd and his troubles and him not being Dick Grayson. And then this is the Joker movie, because in the end, the Joker kills Jason Todd. So that's the second movie. And then the third movie is A Lonely Place of Dying, where now we're dealing with the repercussions of Jason's death. Batman's not who he's supposed to be. Tim Drake shows up, goes out to find Dick because they need to help Batman. Dick doesn't want to return as Robin, and so Tim becomes Robin. That's my trilogy. Okay, so if the first movie is a Riddler movie, the second movie is more of a Joker movie, the third movie, A Lonely Place of Dying, that's a Two-Face movie. So I would still find ways to incorporate more of the Rogues Gallery throughout, but yeah, that's my trilogy, and yeah, you could keep going after that, however you like.
Again, why the hell we're not in charge of this?
I know, right? But nobody asks us. I mean, well, some people ask us. They're just the people who can't make it happen. So, yep, I guess that's my Batman trilogy that I would pitch. All right, moving forward. Next message is from Kendrick. It says, "Hey guys, thank you for all that you do and involving the listeners. Since Michael Keaton has been a topic of discussion on different sites and shows, I decided to rewatch Batman Returns. I noticed something for the first time when Max tries to convince the Penguin to run for mayor. After he mentions gaining the ear of the media and access to captains of industry, he says unlimited poontang. I had to cut my TV up pretty hard to catch it, but to make sure that I heard what I thought I heard. I was surprised. I thought it was funny. I was wondering how I missed it all these years and watching the same copy. Is it just me? Take care. Keep up the great work." Thank you, Kendrick. And yes, I've known that line has been there for years, but I think it also still took me years to realize that he said it. But it is hysterical. And yeah, it is easy to miss. It's pretty quiet, but yeah, like unlimited poontang, that's in there. Guys?
I caught that line opening night in the theater, and let's see, I would have been 92, 17 years old, and I thought it was hysterical. In fact, I think I was laughing well beyond anybody else in the theater at that point, to the point where I was probably being obnoxious. But yeah,
It's
no. Funny. Yeah, people didn't want to be in a movie theater with me when I was 17. Trust me, I was that guy.
Yeah, Brendan, Chris, did you guys pick that up on the first time? Took me a while.
I probably did, but I was 9 years old when I first saw it, so I had no idea what it meant. As I got older and realized what it meant, I mean, again, it's no secret. I don't dislike Batman Returns, but there's certain elements of it that I just don't like whatsoever, and nearly 100% of it involves the Max Shrek stuff. So I could definitely do without it, even though it's a funny line.
Sounds to me like something you'd get in an Australian deli. It just has that sound to it, you know? You guys have such weird names for things. Most of which is charming, I might add, except for that C word that you have me saying way too often now.
Actually, blame Andy for that. He's adapted to it more than I have.
I've taken it back. I've owned it. I call my TV that all the time when it's not cooperating. All right. Chris, anything to add about Unlimited Poontang?
I'd have been 20 when I first saw that movie, so yeah, I would have clocked it.
I just for people who might skip forward to the Wayne Manor mailbox and they cut to the part where you go, yeah, any thoughts on Unlimited Poontang?
Yeah. Do you support it? Are you for it?
I mean, Unlimited Poontang is what somebody should run for political office on right there. I mean, geez.
That's the name of my college band.
Yeah.
Right. Like Wu-Tang Clan and Poontang Clan.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Done. Right there. Perfect. That's the title of this episode, Andy. Episode whatever this is, Poontang.
Poontang Clan. Okay.
Perfect. I love it.
All right, let's move forward. Next message is from Michael Murphy. It says, "Hey, I was wondering what's your excitement level for Matt Reeves' The Batman? I haven't gotten too excited yet. I'm more excited for the Snyder Cut and the return of Michael Keaton." Thanks, Michael Murphy. Okay, Jamie, 1 to 10 excitement level for The Batman.
I don't even know how to score it on a 1 to 10 scale. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm way less excited for it now than I was before I saw some of those pictures.
Okay, fair enough.
Still want to see it. Still interested. I'm sadly disappointed, but I'm hoping fandom gets me switched back around.
Okay, Brendan.
Again, pretty much cut and paste everything Jamie said. Was ecstatic for it. Excitement levels dropped a little bit with the aesthetics that we've seen so far, but again, we haven't seen them in context of anything. So I'd probably say 5.5. Excitement level, but to give it some, I guess, reference, Wonder Woman would be a 12, Wonder Woman 84 in terms of excitement, and yeah, the solo Batman movies are 5.5. So take from that what you will.
Okay, Chris, what about you?
I'm currently about a 5, and that's not against the film. It's just that it's so far away, and that production sort of stopped. But yeah, I mean, come within a month or so of release, it'll be a 10. certified time, I'll be really up for it. Well, now, sort of, time.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I agree with all you guys. Yeah, I was at a fever pitch of excitement until we started seeing stuff, and that has dampened my excitement. I'm still looking forward to it, but it's not something I'm like frothing in the mouth for. I'm probably at like a 5 or a 6, because I'm certainly looking forward to it. But as Jamie said, I just hope that whatever we are about to see in fandom, kicks that up a notch. Because yeah, I mean, as we know, what we've seen so far hasn't really done it for me.
Hey, Andy, did you see Val Kilmer's going to be at Fandom?
I did.
And Linda Carter.
Very interesting. I saw like there was a whole list, but it was so long. I was like, I don't have time to read that.
I'm more excited for Fandom than I am, I think, any of the movies, if I'm being completely honest. I can't wait for this thing.
I love that they are going all in on it. Like it's really cool. Like how big of a deal that they're making it. It's really exciting. And I got to tell you guys, so last week we're planning this thing for work that we have to do over the weekend, and for a minute it was going to be planned on the 22nd, and I was upset because there's nothing I could do to stop it. I was like, you're kidding me, we're doing it on the 22nd? That's just my luck. But as of yesterday, it looks like we might be bumping it a week to the 29th, and I'm like, yes, we should definitely do that. We should definitely bump it a week.
Although, if you were to do it on the 22nd, it shouldn't have too much of an impact with the time difference, because it'll pretty much be the 23rd for us.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like if I was done early enough.
Isn't it going to be at like 1 o'clock in the morning your time, Andy?
Maybe.
Because it's going to be 1 o'clock in the afternoon my time, because it's 10 a.m. Pacific.
Then yes. Then if that's what it is, if it's 10 a.m. Pacific, then yes, it will be 1 o'clock in the morning. So okay, maybe it didn't matter, but I just had that moment of panic.
I get you.
All I'm going to do is come home from work that day and turn on the WB YouTube channel and catch whatever trailers they dropped. I don't care about sitting through panels or any of that other stuff. I'll catch the details from everybody else who will post about it 48,000 times in the Real Fans group.
I'll catch as much as I can, but I mean, I'm used to getting up at usually, I think it's 3 o'clock my time, for Hall H stuff, for the last 5 or 6 Comic Cons. So I've done it before and I'll do it again.
I respect your commitment. All right, cool. So let's see here. Next question is from Weston Craig. It says, hey guys, what's your favorite live action Batman utility belt and grappling guns? Mine are the BVS belt and the 89 grappling gun. Have you seen the Mythbusters episode where they tried to build Batman's grappling hook? Weston. Thanks, Weston. All right, favorite versions of the utility belt and grappling gun, and I have not seen the Mythbusters, but now I want to find it. Jamie, thoughts?
That's the only Mythbusters episode I've ever seen.
Oh, okay.
Because they try to do the stuff with the grappling gun. They try to do the stuff where the Batmobile fires the grappling thing around that tower and makes that sharp corner. They did a whole bunch of that stuff.
Oh, I definitely need to find it.
Yeah. Cool.
It's cool. Favorite utility belt? I guess I'll say the same thing he did. The belt would be the BVS and the grappling gun would be 89.
All right. Brendan?
It's a really interesting question. It's so funny. I kind of want to say the Batman Begins belt, but then there's a huge part of me that's leaning towards the Adam West one as well, because it's so classic.
Mm-hmm.
Grappling gun, it's kind of a tie between Begins and 89, to be honest, because it's kind of the most that you see them in action, and I think potentially you see Begins more than you do 89, so it's hard to get the struck match between those two, but...
No, I'm going to change my answer. West had the best grappling gun because it was actually a manual hook that he threw, and his guns are what powered it. So there you go.
Okay.
Pure best.
Chris, what about you?
I would say Batman 89 purely for the scene where are they on a bridge trying to get back down to the Batmobile, and he just straight up asks Vicky Vale how much she weighs. It's just like, Bruce, come on. She says, what do you weigh? And she's like, whatever.
108, I think.
And they lower it down.
You weigh a little more than 108.
Yeah. For that alone, Batman 89.
Yeah, my choices for both are Batman 89. Just, I think the design on both of them are amazing. I think for functionality, that belt makes less sense because there's not really a lot of room to put anything in it. I think functionally, BVS makes more sense, but I just think aesthetically, I like the 89 belt and grapple better. All right, next one here is from Grant Ingram. It says, "Hey, Andy, Jamie, and the Killer Kangaroo. You have so many pet names. So many pet names." It says, "First, I want to thank you for all your hard work. You guys inspired me to start my own podcast, Much Talk About Nothing, where we do weekly movie reviews. We've gotten off the ground, and I've now gotten appreciation for how hard the work really is. We're reviewing Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think that Mask of the Phantasm could have worked in live action? Personally, I could have seen it as a Keaton movie, but nobody else could really pull it off. Finally, I was wondering how you grew your podcast. We're just starting out, and I wanted to get advice. Thanks. Sorry for the long email, Grant Ingram." Well, Grant, we just gave you a free plug to help grow your podcast. Much Talk About Nothing. So that helps. All right, let's see here. Mask of the Phantasm in live action. What do you think, Jamie?
Yes, twice.
Okay, great.
I don't care who it is. It just obviously captured the spirit and put it together well. I don't think I'm going to say it would only work with Keaton or only work with Affleck or any of that. I think it would work great because I love the story.
Okay, cool. Brendan?
It's funny that a Mask of the Phantasm question would come up because last Saturday, so a week ago from today, I saw that on the quote-unquote big screen for the first time, which made me pretty happy.
Nice.
You guys just got it down there?
Yeah, no.
It's a new release.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were staying at a hotel for a couple of nights on the Gold Coast, and the hotel we were staying at had a private cinema that you could book out, and we booked out a couple of sessions, and I was like, well, I want to see a Batman movie that I haven't seen on the big screen, and it was really only the 66 movie or Mask of the Phantasm, and I went with Mask of the Phantasm, so I got to see it on a big cinema screen for the first time a week ago, so I was pretty stoked with that. But to answer the question, yeah, and I think it could have totally worked in live action, and it's because it's such a damn good story, which goes back to my previous thing before about what I would pitch Warner Brothers for a new series of Batman movies. Like, those guys just get it, and we've said it countless times on the podcast before. How they haven't been approached to write a live action treatment for a Batman movie is beyond me. It's ridiculous.
Because everybody's seen Terry's Friend Dates a Robot.
But yeah, it's they seem to get the character like nobody else, and I love their version of it. So of course I'd love to see something like that in live action.
Huh? Chris, what do you think?
The story, yeah, definitely would have worked. Is he saying if they did it now, or if like they did it in '93? Because I'm not sure it would have worked back then as live action.
Yeah, he doesn't really say.
No, but yeah, I'd love to see it. But yeah, as a story, it definitely worked.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, of course it works in animation, but there's nothing about it that's so over the top or so made for animation that it wouldn't work in live action. I think most of it could. Might have to make some slight tweaks to the finale with like the jetpacks and stuff, but yeah, otherwise I think it pretty much works. And so yeah, I think no reason it couldn't. And then as for growing your podcast, what advice do I have for you? Keep doing it regularly. Make the episode titles simple and to the point, so that way when people search for things like Batman or Superman or DC, they find it. When I started Real Fans, I tried to be cute with the titles, and I was like, actually that doesn't work as well than just putting the name of the movie, because now when people search for the name of the movie, they'll just find your episode, as opposed to like having some cute title that they're not going to find. So do that. Have guest stars on or guest spots that, people who can help promote it. Do that. Don't ask me. I am not doing guest spots right now because I don't have time to do this show, let alone anyone else's. But that is a good way to do it as well. And then, yeah, make sure you put like keywords in the description. So, again, things that people would search for: Batman, DC, Gotham City, etc. And then just keep on it and keep going. But I will say that that's not what it's about. Do it because you enjoy it, and you will meet cool people because of it. Because some people will find you regardless. And do it because you enjoy it, and then anyone who listens is just a bonus from there.
Yeah, the one thing I'd add to that is networking. And when I say that, I don't. From what I've found with my podcasting, the networking stuff has kind of all happened by accident. You just kind of, my relationship with Andy and Jamie is a perfect example. I was doing my own thing, and I listened to Andy's show and had written in a couple of times, and we sort of became friends on Facebook, which led to him asking me to guest on his show. And 4 years later, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm the third wheel of the tricycle that is Holy BatCast. I never ever set out to do that, but it's just you make friends in this world, and a lot of the times they're not even in your country. And in doing that, I became part of the Real Fans group, and you kind of get a band of loyal followers just from doing what you do, and without, for me, it all kind of happened without trying. You just kind of naturally make friends. So just keep at it and see how it grows, and networking will kind of happen organically.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have any specific advice on how to popularize a podcast. I mean, Andy does all the production work here. I'm just the guy that rides along with him. My best suggestion I can give is enjoy what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, there's no sense in doing it. If you do, then you should be content whether it's just you and a couple friends sitting around talking and nobody else listens to it. I said that way back when this show started. If it's just Andy and I talking about Batman once or twice a month or whatever, if other people want to listen, great. If not, I'm just having a good conversation with my friend. You have to enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, it's going to feel like work. If it feels like work, it's going to come across to your listeners as work. And it's just, people have a tendency of wanting to take this stuff entirely too seriously. And newsflash, nobody's getting rich off podcasts. Even the people that have podcasts that get 500,000 downloads an episode are not getting rich off a podcast. They're doing it because they either want additional exposure or they just want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Very true. All right, cool. Well, best of luck on your show. We wish you the best. Next message is from Jacob. It says, "Hey guys, I've been loving the show and everything that you've been doing, even the Batman Beyond reviews, to Brendan's dismay. My question is regards to the new Justice League film. Do you guys want to see the original Deathstroke post-credit scene, even if there's a possibility that we'll never see Ben's movie, or would you reshoot it? Thanks, keep up the good work." Thanks, Jacob. Jamie, what do you think?
I want to see whatever version it's supposed to be in Zack Snyder's eyes. I don't want to get teased by him changing something around for something that'll never happen. But if he wants to show me what his original intention was with it, finishing touches on the original plan, obviously that's what I would like to see. If you want to give me a Deathstroke movie, great. But for God's sake, don't tease me with a Deathstroke movie that'll never happen if it's not already attached to it. I've already got that tease. I'm still waiting for a Legion of Doom movie 3 years later, and there's not a peep about it. So
yeah. Brendan?
Honestly, once again, I'm going to have to cut and paste what Jamie said. I really can't add to it. I totally agree with that.
Chris, what about you?
I'd get rid of it. There's not going to be the film that it was originally meant to tease. If I remember correctly, is it the Deathstroke comes onto the boat with Lex Luthor?
Yes.
And it's, okay, if they've got a league, we've got a league. Well, if they're not going to have the film to follow that, then there's no point having it in. But again, it depends what and where they're going with it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see a follow-up on either of the post-credit scene, but
No.
It's Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let him do the end credit scene that he was always planning, and then we'll just be tortured forever of what could have been.
Yeah.
But hey, you can always hold out hope that all the pushing and shoving and shouting and everything else got this movie done on HBO Max, and it's most likely going to get the air cut of Suicide Squad done on HBO Max. You never can tell. At this point, I'm not going to say never about anything.
Yeah, true. You never know if it's this massive hit and there's the demand. You never know. All right, next message from Condor Zolander. It says, "Hey guys, is there ever a time that you checked out on Batman? I'll be honest, I checked out after Batman and Robin because I was so angry about the movie. I almost got back into Batman with Batman Beyond, and after the first episode, I checked out again and just associated with Batman 66 as my Batman. But then I got back into Batman after Batman Begins and The Dark Knight." Condor, thanks for the message. I feel like we've mentioned this before, but interesting. Jamie, have you ever checked out on Batman for a while?
Batman and Robin tore me up pretty bad. I mean, it took me from there until about The Dark Knight to really get my Batman fandom hyper ignited. I mean, Batman Begins was great. I really enjoyed it. You know, I always liked Batman in between those years, but Dark Knight was what got me back into collecting and reading comics and everything else. So yeah, I was wiped out for quite a while after that. And then I watched this one episode of a show called Terry's Friend Dates a Robot. That tore me up too. It's going to be a while before I recover from that.
Yeah, Brendan.
Yeah, I've definitely said it before. I dropped out after Batman and Robin, but honestly, it was more for the just kind of my age than anything else, and the fact that they weren't making live action Batman movies at all. Because it came out when I was 13 and a half. You know, by that stage, I was more about girls and music and stuff rather than Batman fandom. So that was the main reason for it. But in saying that, if another Batman movie had come out between, 97 and 2005, I would have been down for it, definitely. But I mean, I still checked out like the Sub-Zero movie because it didn't get a release here in Australia until 99. Like, I remember getting that when it first came out on video. The Justice League animated series, how I came to that was they released the first, I think it's 3 or 4 episodes because they were like the one story arc. They released that on DVD as an animated, quote unquote animated movie. And I bought that because I always liked Batman the animated series. So I tiny little bits and pieces I still kept on top of it, but for the most part, it was not until Batman Begins came out where I was, for lack of a better term, balls deep back into my Batman fandom, and I haven't looked back since.
All right, and Chris?
No, I only really got into Batman when I was almost 20. So, yeah, I've sort of strapped in for the ride and not stopped since. We've got a regular, obviously, things happen every year, every so many months we get stuff, and there's all the stuff from before I got into it, like the animated series or the 66 show or a number of movies that I can go back and watch in between. So no, I've never stopped.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if you got into it during the Nolan films, it makes sense. Because, yeah, I feel like for Jamie, Brendan, and I, we're all sort of on the same page as, after Batman and Robin, it was pretty easy to check out. And, it was a number of things. It was because, there was no new movie coming, and it was a pretty long gap with no new movie. And then, I had just sort of become a independent adult, and so I just was distracted with that. And so that was when I didn't pick up a comic book for years, so I missed a bunch of stuff in the comics, and that was why I didn't really watch Batman Beyond during its first run, because that was during that same time, 99, 2000. I knew it was on, and I watched it here and there a little bit, but I wasn't keeping up on it. Even when Justice League premiered, I watched the premiere, but then I sort of lost track of that show because I was just so busy with real life. And and when Batman Begins came out, I've even said this in the past, is I was looking forward to it, but I wasn't as excited as I should have been considering I'm such a big Batman fan. So that was kind of a weird thing. But then once I saw it, that all changed. So yeah, I think that gap between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins, a lot of Batman fans, if they didn't move on from it, they did sort of just take a step out of it for a while.
Yeah. When did you get your Batman tattoo?
I got that summer of 2007.
So you were right back in. I was just trying to work out when. Yeah, so
Yeah, so I was definitely back into it by then, and but it was post Begins, pre Dark Knight, but yeah, like it was something I had always thought about doing, and it was when I moved across the country to California, and I was like, hey, like new chapter, I should get a tattoo. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next message from our pal Stuart from Guernsey. It says, if we're to get the Spider-Verse on HBO Max, what would you like to see after Justice League? Personally, I can't get the thought of a Zack Snyder, interesting, Deathstroke movie out of my head. I honestly think he'd be perfect for it if it were to happen. Also, did any of you watch SnyderCon? What are your thoughts of any of it? Anyway, hope you're staying safe. Stuart. Thanks, Stuart. Well, Jamie, what would you want to see if Zack Snyder were to do more DC stuff after his cut of Justice League?
I don't know, but I'm a Snyder fan. Have been since before he touched the DC property. So whatever he's going to do, I'm in on it.
All right. Cool. I mean, I love the idea of the Deathstroke movie. Like we just said, like if he wanted to follow up his cut of Justice League with Deathstroke, I know I'd be into it.
What was it? Gareth Evans was potentially attached or approached about a Deathstroke movie? The guy that did the Raid movies?
Yeah.
Shit, I'm still waiting for that.
Oh, wow. Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in for that.
All right. Nice. Brendan, what do you think?
I don't know what I'd want him specifically to direct, but if you know the Snyderverse was to continue, obviously my choice would be the Affleck solo Batman movie. But yeah,
I mean, and he is coming back, guys. So it makes sense.
Why
would you even say that? Why would you even say that? What is the matter with you?
Well, I mean, honestly, after the Snyder Justice League movie, I mean, that's the one thing that I want to see. I want to see a solo Ben Affleck Batman movie, whether he directs it or not. But that's what I'd want to see. I don't know. I'd like to see Snyder potentially do something with because he does, you know, like with his Sucker Punch and stuff like that. Like, I'd like to see him do a female character. I don't know what female character. Yeah. Again, these are questions that I really need to have some time to think of. But
here, I'll give you a second to think about it while I throw in 2 cents here. My wife showed me a picture of Ben Affleck on her phone yesterday and says, "Boy, I guess he got tired of all the dad bod comments." And I looked at it and I thought to myself, "Okay,
mate,
he's in Batman
jacked.
shape again."
Oh,
and I know damn sure he ain't getting in that shape to do a Chinatown remake.
He's getting in that shape to be healthy now that he stopped drinking again.
Okay.
Everyone's like, oh, he's not killing himself with alcohol anymore. It must mean he's Batman again. No, it's because he's not killing himself with alcohol anymore.
We've seen who his girlfriend is, so I don't blame him for wanting to keep in shape. My God.
Who's his girlfriend?
Anna de Artemis.
Ugh. Step down from Jennifer Garner, but okay.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so Chris, anything that you'd like to see Snyder do if he were to do something as a follow-up to Justice League?
I'm gonna give the same answer again. Batgirl.
All right.
Batgirl film.
I'd watch the shit out of that.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, I mean, I'm. Well, you probably guessed I'm quite the fan of that character. So yeah.
She's my favorite non-Batman Bat family member, so I'm with you.
Yeah, me too.
Nice. I mean, yeah, I think Deathstroke makes a lot of sense. I think that he didn't tease the Legion of Doom, but if anyone could make a cool Legion of Doom movie, it would be Zack Snyder. So, yeah, who knows? I'd be all for it, though. I'd love to see him continue in the DC universe. That would be great. As for your second question about SnyderCon, it was actually JusticeCon, but I think that you kind of made the point. It happened in the middle of the night where I am in China, so I did not get a chance to watch it. There wasn't really a lot of news that came out of it that we needed to discuss on the show. So yeah, just, good for the fans, and congrats to them for putting that event together.
Agreed.
All right. Next message is from Tom Fallows. Oh, it's Tom Fallows again. This says, "Hey guys, I love the podcast. I cannot wait for the 29th anniversary podcast about Batman Returns." Oh man. He says, "Just kidding, Andy." He says, "My question is, what Batman storyline event would you like to see adapted to film or TV? For me, I'd love to see No Man's Land. Anyway, keep up the hard work, stay safe, and whoever is getting up early or staying up late, stay awake." Tom Fallows. Thanks, Tom. So, I mean, I feel like we kind of did get No Man's Land with Dark Knight Returns.
I mean, if you want to make No Man's Land into movies, you're going to make Lord of the Rings look like the famous Jewish sports legends Leaflet and Airplane.
I don't get it.
No Man's Land would be great as a long form, like television, like
Yeah,
HBO style
yeah.
It would
television
have to
series.
be like a 10-season television series to be able to accomplish it,
Yeah.
because it's freaking huge.
Yeah.
That was my point.
Freaking huge. Okay. Brendan, any thoughts?
Well, No Man's Land. It's funny for my feature movies. We've said this before too. Like, I don't particularly want just adaptations of comic. Like, I like them when they borrow from stuff and kind of make it their own. Like, say, Nolan did with The Long Halloween for Dark Knight, stuff like that, where it's, there's some thematic stuff there, but it's not a complete, redo of the story. But for that sort of thing, I would prefer like a HBO Max Netflix style, where you can sort of give it the time that it needs to play out. So, I mean, even something like a Hush, done live action over, a 10 or 11, 13 episode series would be great. Not so much for the big screen for me, because no matter what you do for the big screen, you're going to water it down a heap. And there's going to be a lot left on the floor that should be included. Whereas, the new way of television, it gives you more freedom to throw more in. So, yeah, I'd be going for TV big time.
All right. Chris, thoughts?
I'd like a Netflix 10-parter where Terry McGinnis has a friend, and that friend dies a robot. No, I'd maybe The Long Halloween or A Death in the Family. I'd go down the well, not necessarily Netflix, but yeah, I'd have like a 10-part sort of streaming thing, or 8-part, or 12, or whatever. Yeah, but I'd go with what Brendan says about a lot of the good stories have been, like, bits of it have been taken, like the Nolan trilogy and BVS. Wouldn't necessarily want a full, like a full do-over of one story. So.
Well, you know what you're getting. You kind of want to have some surprise when you go to see a new Batman movie.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And Jamie, I'm sorry, I don't know if you kind of answered, but then we were talking about No Man's Land, so was there something else that you wanted to see?
Digital Justice or Go Home.
Obviously.
Because like 5 people on Earth have read that book.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you guys. I feel like Hush or Long Halloween, but not necessarily a straight up adaptation. I mean, we've said for a long time is like Long Halloween would be a great like mini series or something, and Hush could be too. But I want something more in the spirit of those than an actual adaptation, the way Brendan was saying. So. All right, next email is from Tommy Sanders. It's, "Hey guys, what's your favorite song on the Batman and Robin soundtrack? Also, I listened to your Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas review." Yay! And if they wanted to make a prequel to the Flintstones, wouldn't it have been better to make a live action version of the Flintstone Kids? Thanks, Tommy. Well, I'm going to let Brendan answer that first. Would you have rather seen the Flintstone Kids?
Not really.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know that that kind of got brought up when we talked about it, but I was like, I think a young version like they did where it's about, here's how Fred and Barney met Wilma and Betty. I thought that was a great idea for the movie. I think that wasn't what was wrong with the movie. It was the casting, and then like, why make half the movie about Rock Vegas? But like, as a prequel, I think that was the right way to go. I just think they could have done a better version of that.
Isn't Flintstone Kids what they call the damn vitamins?
That's the song for the Vitamins.
Oh.
We are Flintstones kids. 1 million strong and growing. We are Flintstone kids. Yeah. But
You can tell
it was
what a
actually
Flintstone
just,
super fan I am.
you know, when we do our episode about Flintstone kids, then you'll learn all about it.
Okay.
That's not going to happen. Anyway, sorry. The other question. Favorite song on the Batman and Robin soundtrack, Jamie?
No idea. Couldn't name a song on it.
Brendan?
Once upon a time, I would have said Gotham City, but I don't want to talk about R. Kelly, so it kind of cancels that out. So I'd go with the Underworld track, which from memory I think is called Mona.
Okay. Chris, any thoughts?
Does it open with REM's the beginning, is the end, is the beginning, and then
It's
close with...
Smashing Pumpkins, but yeah.
Smashing
sorry.
Pumpkins, yeah.
Sorry, Smashing Pumpkins, yeah. Just on the R. Kelly song, I used to like that song, but I think one day I just realised that the song does not describe Gotham City.
No,
It's
not
totally
even a little.
inaccurate. It's
Not
not the
even a
city of
little.
justice, or the city of peace, or the city of love, and so on.
You know,
Yeah.
Warner Brothers just went, you know what you did with the Space Jam soundtrack? Give us another one of those.
Yes. Accurate. I have to pick Gotham City just by default because it's the only one I really know. I've never been into the Smashing Pumpkins, so I didn't really like those songs. And I never owned the soundtrack, so I only know Gotham City, so I'm going to pick it because it's kind of catchy, and it's also so stupid that I kind of respect its stupidity. So I almost like it on an ironic level because how do you write a song called Gotham City and so egregiously miss the point? It's glorious how they miss the point. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It agitates my wife because she loves Smashing Pumpkins. It's like one of her favorite bands ever. But they have two different songs. One is beginning is the end, the beginning is the other is the end is the beginning is the end, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there was some modified version of that song that got used for the Watchmen trailer.
Oh,
that
that's
was
right.
Incredible. I love that song. So if that's on that soundtrack, then that goes by default.
Okay.
But I don't know which one's which and where it is or anything else.
Yeah, I don't either. Like I said, I've never been a fan. So if you had a gun to my head and said sing the Smashing Pumpkin song for Batman and Robin, I would be dead. I couldn't do it.
Good.
I mean, I'd start singing REM, so I'd definitely be dead.
Yeah.
I do own that soundtrack on CD somewhere, but yeah, I'd struggle to name more than 4 songs of it.
Yeah, I didn't even buy it because at least like
No.
Batman Forever had U2 and Seal, and like we talked about it. There's some really good songs on that soundtrack. But when Batman and Robin, I was like, oh, like, yeah, there was really nothing for me to grab onto. All right, next message from Jason Ritter. It says, hey guys, with 2020 being one for the books, one of the few things that has me excited is Fandom. Anyway, I was wondering, what do you want to see announced or showed, and what surprises do you think might come out of the event? I hope that you stay safe and well, Jason Ritter. Thanks, Jason. I think that we all agree we're excited for Fandom. I'm gonna stay up late. I'm gonna brew coffee. Maybe I'll take a day off work. Oh, it's in the weekend, but it's just any excuse to take a day off work. I might do it anyway, if I'm that tired. But anyway, what do you expect to see, and any surprises you hope we'll get? Jamie?
Go to somebody else first. I'm looking my answer up right now.
Okay, great. Brendan?
Honestly, I'd really like to see some sort of footage or trailer from the Batman.
Yeah?
That would be awesome. It's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a few surprises and a lot of announcements, and I'm keen to see, because usually at Comic-Con they give us the slate for the next year's animated movies, which we haven't heard yet. So I'm curious to see, now that their continuity stuff's over, I'm curious to see if they do announce a slate and what that's going to be. I'm intrigued by that. But yeah, I think the Batman, because I do want to start feeling more excited for it, and I'd like to see our first footage and, clear, not paparazzi shots of the friggin' costume, please.
Chris, what about you?
The Batman. Yeah, I'd like to see if they've got anything ready, to see sort of where they're at. I mean, are they now doing it on sound stages? Because they were in Glasgow on site.
Yeah, that's the story, is that now, they're doing it all indoors.
Yeah,
So I remembered one, a trailer for the Snyder Cut.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I should note, Matt Reeves did tweet out about Fandom and saying, I can't wait to share more about the Batman with you. So we will be getting something. Who knows what that is, but we will be getting something, which I agree with you guys. I can't wait to see, because, yeah, I want to be excited. I want to be more excited. So, whatever they can give me, that's great. But I expect that. I expect the final trailer for Wonder Woman 1984, which will be great. I expect the first trailer for the Suicide Squad, because we're starting to get some nuggets about that. We got the official logo. There was that little happy birthday video that they posted for James Gunn with the entire cast.
It's a big cast.
It's a huge cast, but the one thing I got to note about that is in it, they all made nods to their characters, and when Idris Elba talked, they made his voice growl, so I think that's confirmation that he's Bronze Tiger. I think.
I would be surprised, yeah.
I mean, that's been heavily speculated, but I know that it hasn't been confirmed. So that makes sense. Surprises I want. I'd like a real firm update on the Flash movie. I would like that.
Ooh, yeah.
I think that, what else? Aquaman 2 news, I'd be all for. I think that would be awesome.
Even use on the animated series for that would be great.
Yeah. And then what you said, the Snyder Cut trailer, hell yeah. That I love that we're getting a new trailer for a 3-year-old movie, and I can't wait to see it. Jamie, thoughts?
I'm going to let Gary Oldman handle my thoughts for me on this for what I would like to see for Fandom.
All right. Great. That's it? Nothing else?
No, that's everything. Just all of it.
Okay.
Everyone.
All of it. Terrific.
Yeah. I want the Hawk World movie. I don't want Booster Gold or Blue Beetle. You can keep that shit. But everything else.
Booster Gold would be a great property.
Yeah.
Send Booster Gold to Australia. Give me everything else.
I would like them to also let us know what's happening with DC Universe and HBO Max.
Yes.
DC Universe is being awfully cryptic right now, and it's starting to piss me off.
Yeah,
because today they posted that thing about the dead Robins about, this is us in 2020. But I literally just got an email yesterday from them. It's a survey saying, what would I like to see change about it? What do I like about it? And on and on. I'm like, why are we putting forth this effort if this is all but a dead service at this point?
Yeah. I mean, I think
Titans on DCEU is no longer called Titans on DCEU. It's just called Titans. I don't see how that service can be anything but a comic book service by year's end.
Yeah. And that's fine, because I've been reading tons of comics on it, and I've been enjoying the hell out of it. But yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But I would just like some confirmation so we could plan accordingly.
I'll say as well, as far as that goes, just not that this was the question, but with DC Universe, if all your TV stuff goes over to HBO Max, which makes sense because you're going to get a bigger audience that way, because, the only way you're going to get people on DC Universe is if they're DC fans. So I understand them changing that over to HBO Max, not a problem. But if that happens and all the original content leaves DC Universe and it does just become a comics thing, please make it available worldwide, because there's no reason why you can't. If it's just comics, who gives a shit? Make it available to everyone. I'll subscribe. I'll definitely join up to it.
What are they up to now? 25,000 comics, and they're adding more every month.
Yeah.
Surely, Andy, you'd have to you wouldn't have to worry about distribution rights for just the comics, because
I don't think so. Yeah, the comics should be fine. They own all their own
distribution rights for that. They don't have anybody else's.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have to buy stuff off Comixology every time I want to get something, and I can just pay a monthly subscription, and I mean, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally worth it.
Oh, I don't know if we've heard anything about a season 4 of Young Justice, but I'd sure like to hear something about that at Fandom if it comes around.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention Black Adam.
Yeah. So yeah, back to your answer. Everything. We just want updates on everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's our hope. All right, one last email. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. This is from Weston. It says, "Hey, what are your thoughts on the Suicide Squad game that was teased by Rocksteady before Fandom? Which characters do you?"
New email?
Yeah, just this morning. What characters do you think would be coolest to have on the squad for the game? All right, thank you, Weston. So yeah, this was news that just came out in the last 24 hours, is that Rocksteady finally released that the new DC game they've been working on is Suicide Squad. There's a cool teaser poster where it's Superman, but there's a bullseye on the back of his head that says Suicide Squad, which is kind of fun. Yeah, thoughts on this and any characters you would like to see, Jamie?
I'm not much of a gamer anymore, but for all the people that are, it's great news. One thing I would like to see is Amanda Waller with the super mega pimp hand, where she just walks around, somebody gets out of line and she throws it at them and gets them back in check.
Okay.
Because I don't know what else the hell I want to see out of that game, because I don't play games.
All right, Brendan?
Yeah, kind of the same as Jamie again. I'm not a gamer, so it doesn't really bother me too much what they do with it, because I'm not going to play it. But I mean, I hope for the fans that it's something really awesome, and it does. It's funny to me the amount of money that sort of DC / Warner Brothers are throwing behind the Suicide Squad brand in the last,
it's true.
7 years or so. Like, it's something that you kind of heard of occasionally in the comics and stuff, but man, it's really, the fact that they're kind of trying again with the movie so soon. I mean, even though it's not a sequel, it's not a reboot, whatever the hell it is, it's both of those things. They really have seeing some value in the property, and good on them. So it's
not to mention one of the best writers in their stable is on the comic book right now.
Who's that?
Tom Taylor.
Oh, Tom's. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, of course he is. The Aussie.
But no, you're right. Like, it is interesting how Suicide Squad has become sort of a franchise unto itself, which is kind of neat and impressive in that way. Because you're right. Like, it's not just the live action movie. It's now the sequel, soft reboot, the animated movies, and now the game. Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of neat that like that has elevated to its own franchise. Chris, any thoughts on this game?
I'm delighted that they're in a position to make a Suicide game. I'm glad it's popular enough. But unless they bring it out on Sega Mega Drive or Nintendo GameCube, I'm not going to play it.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. As like none of us are avid gamers. It's always been the biggest blind spot as far as this show goes. I think it's great. I think it's super cool that they're making this game. Something new but makes sense. But yeah, will I play it? No time soon. I still need to play the Arkham games because I'm a slacker. But as far as characters, I think that what they should do is kind of like what the Injustice game did, which is the Injustice game has everyone. That's what the Suicide Squad game should have. Is like it should give you an option of 20 or 25 villains to make your own Suicide Squad. I think that would be part of the fun of it. You need to have Harley Quinn and Deadshot. King Shark needs to be there. You need to be able to rip stuff up as King Shark.
And he needs to say something other than King Shark is a shark.
I agree.
He needs to have the same voiceover from the Harley Quinn series is what he needs.
Call Ron Funches.
Yeah.
You need to have Captain Boomerang. Like you need all the mainstays, but I like the idea of also giving the option of some more obscure ones for the super fans or the people who are going to want to play this game like crazy. Like, give them lots of options. Don't just give them 5 members. Give them 20 members and let them choose 5 members to go run through the game as. There were some games that when I was still playing games that there were a couple X-Men games and Marvel games that were like that, where it was essentially like every character, but you just chose a team of 4 to play through.
Marvel
and
Alliance is like that.
Yeah, they were so fun. And I think it was X-Men Legends was the X-Men version. Yeah. I loved those because I could play as everyone and I could always choose my 4 favorite X-Men to play with. So I think this should be the same. Is give people the option.
Gambit and Gambit to suit your team then, right?
Well, maybe. No, what was it? It was always Gambit, Iceman, and Nightcrawler are my 3 favorites. And then I'd usually throw in Storm or Jean Grey or Rogue because I needed their powers.
I will say if they do a novelization of the game, I'll definitely read that because they did one for Arkham Knight. I've never seen a frame of the game, but the novelization was really, really cool. I liked it. So if it enables them to do other variations and not just the game, then I'll lap those up.
Why play the game when you can read a book about the game?
Well, I'm not a gamer, but I like reading, and the book was really good.
Okay.
Arkham Knight is part of the comics continuity now too, but I think it's a different secret identity for it.
I read the comics based on that too. In Arkham City, I read those comics because I'm pretty sure Paul Dini wrote them, I think, from memory.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I'm talking actual Batman continuity. Arkham Knight is part of it now.
Oh, yeah, the character, yeah.
Part of the Tomasi run, I think, had that, incorporated that from, was it Detective, I think? Anyway.
All right. Well, cool. Let's move on. Let's close the Wayne Manor mailbox. Thank you guys for hanging out, and thank you to everybody who has written in. If you've got a message for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that's where we're going to wrap up this episode. Thanks for hanging out. And Chris, thank you for joining us. I'm glad we finally made this work.
Oh, thank you.
We are happy to have you. Can you tell our friends at home where they could find you?
I'm at Chris J Knowles 1 on Twitter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great. Good to finally talk to you. So thanks for joining us. Jamie, thank you as well.
Word.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
I have a Twitter handle called BatRaider3960, but I'm not currently active in there. So one of these days. Maybe after the election's done.
But you're still doing Please Rewind, and we did a review of The Invisible Man on Real Fans. So
we need to get that other one done for Real Fans too. But yeah, that was a good time. It was months delayed, but a great movie, deserved a podcast giving it some praise. So I'm glad we got that handled.
Yeah. Brendan, thank you too.
Not to worry. I will say that was a really good episode of Real Fans. I listened to it the other day whilst working from home.
Oh, thanks.
Can't wait to rewatch that movie. Actually, I'm going to wait till Scarathon though.
Smart.
But, I'm sure the listeners already know, but you can find me on Twitter at Loey007. You can find my podcast at Nightlight Pod, which I do apologise that there hasn't been a new episode since June, but I guess I can say it. I don't care. Jess and I have just bought a place, so we're in the process of packing stuff up. So a lot of my podcast gear is currently packed, so I don't know when I'll get a new Nightlight out, but it's not through lack of wanting. It's just that I can't at the moment. But yeah, you can find me at those two places.
Awesome. And congrats on the new place.
Thank you. Just
it's
waiting
exciting.
for settlement now. So
yeah, that's great. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, everybody out there, for listening and for downloading the show. Please do subscribe so you never miss an episode. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com and find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, the email address for the Wayne Manor mailbox is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that will do it for this time. On behalf of Jamie, Brendan, and Chris, I've been Andy. This has been Holy BatCast. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. And whatever you do, don't date a robot.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
What do you want?
What I've wanted since I was a child. To destroy you. To break and utterly humiliate the great Superman. For all your powers, you've always underestimated the greatest weapon of all. The human mind.
I can see your brain from here, Batman. And it's nothing to boast about.
And can you see?
Let me pull up the episode info.
Yeah, pull this for making me watch that show.
Please keep that in the episode.
Seriously, bring me the head of the asshole that said we should do an episode this week.
Well, he's in Indiana.
God damn it, Brendan, you should have fought me harder.
We got to get through this.
Right.
We got to do it. It doesn't matter whether it's like we're going to have to do it eventually. Now it's done. We can move forward.